Welcome back to another in-depth look at American Horror Story. This time we are looking at Season 8, Apocalypse, the series' first full-blown crossover season, primarily intertwining stories and characters from Season 1, Murder House, and Season 3, Coven, which, if you haven't seen my deep dives on those seasons, why not? Aside from Coven and Murder House, the season also loops in some aspects from Hotel, while also introducing quite a large group of brand new characters. It's the That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana of horror, if you will. While AHS was established as an anthology series, intended to reset each season with new characters and settings, over the years, the showrunners started intentionally making connections and establishing that each season was occurring in the same universe. Ryan Murphy also began to make it known that a fully committed crossover was a part of his master plan. In 2014, in the middle of Freak Show, the first season to feature returning characters from previous seasons, he told Entertainment Weekly, "We have always, from the very beginning, been interested in the intertwining mythologies and how things connect. That's the fun of the show. Hopefully by the end of the run, be it 10 or 15 years, people will be able to stand back and be able to say, oh, that was connected to X." Indeed, we are doing exactly that. In 2016, during press for Roanoke, Murphy further cemented the idea of a very specific crossover season in fans' heads, stating, "We do know what we're going to do. It's not going to be next season, but we are going to do a season that's a crossover between Murder House and Coven together," which is very bizarre. Very bizarre indeed. Ryan would eventually say that this Murder House Coven crossover season would take place in Season 9. However, allegedly due to the scheduling of these big-name actors working out better, the crossover was moved up to Season 8. This switch-up was announced during the beginning of Apocalypse's production cycle, which officially commenced in Los Angeles, California on June 17, 2018, under the rather revealing codename Radioactive. Once fans caught glimpses of filming conducted on location in downtown Los Angeles, it became pretty clear what we were dealing with in the season, the apocalypse. The subtitle would be confirmed on July 20th, 2018 during a live-streamed event from the grounds of San Diego Comic-Con. Shortly after the title was revealed in that Comic-Con event, the AHS social media teams posted the first poster for Apocalypse. Based on its color choices, we're clearly harkening back to the primary posters for Murder House, and thematically this image pretty clearly represents Michael Langdon and Satan. Aside from the red posters, there was a secondary purple color scheme going on that seemed to tease more of the witchy influences on the season. In terms of teasers, there were a ton, and first we got this overstimulating hourglass teaser that honestly foreshadows a lot of the season, in terms of the Antichrist, nuclear war, the battle between good and evil, and of course the hourglass of it all was perhaps our very first clue towards my least favorite element, time travel. This teaser has a lot going on and it goes by way too fast to really process it unless you watch it in slow motion. So I honestly prefer the more subdued teasers from Apocalypse, which still deliver very striking visuals. There's this one focused on a boy blowing out a cake overfilled with candles, and as he does this, he triggers an apocalypse around him. Great stuff. There's also these super surreal purple ones with a younger woman seemingly sucking an older woman's life force through a gas mask, which definitely feels like a look at the fall of an old Supreme as a new one rises. Of course, under a very specific apocalyptic lens. The older woman eventually melts into a purple puddle in a very wicked Witch of the West way. They get a bit ambitious again with this purple candle wax woman who looks upward as mushroom clouds flow out of her eyes and a baby demon hand creeps out of her mouth. To me, this seems like an attempt to replicate some of the iconic mouth agape posters of AHS past. And hey, you know what? I kind of like it as a poster, not so much as a teaser, so I see what they were going for. There were also a series of teasers centered on Sarah Paulson's menacing character that she plays in the season before she reprises Ms. Good by the name of Wilhelmina Venable. The first trailer for the season featured footage from many of the episodes they had filmed up to that point, and amped up the crossover elements, featuring new footage of returning characters like Cordelia Good, Myrtle Snow, Madison Montgomery, and then they reused footage from seasons 1 and 3 to tease some other characters that would also appear in the season: Ben Harmon, Zoe Benson, and Constance Langdon. Doing research, I also stumbled on this piece of marketing that I have no memory of from 2018, but apparently there was an interactive website with these really cool icons representing characters and archetypes from the seasons past, including the lovers, the seer, the mother, the maiden, the murder house, the harlot, the scarred man, the beast, the witch, and lastly, the apocalypse. This website was creative directed by John Cristiano and Joey Barris. Despite its mysterious marketing campaign, Ryan Murphy wasn't too shy with details regarding his latest concoction. A month before the season premiered, he gave fans a glimpse at the witches confirmed to be returning for Apocalypse from Coven: Cordelia Good, Misty Day, Zoe Benson, Queenie, Madison Montgomery, Myrtle Snow, and Stevie Nicks. Of course, not all of these witches survived Coven or other seasons, but as we know, Coven proved that death doesn't mean shit to a witch, and perhaps a larger reason why we have this somewhat random group of returning witches is that according to executive producer Alexis Martin Woodall, all of the witches from Coven were invited to return for the season. So it seems that Ryan Murphy was ready to shoehorn anyone who was down to come back in here, and while this group, minus Stevie, are the primary group of spellcasters in the season, a couple other fan favorites from Coven that aren't pictured do make small appearances as well. Another way the show was promoted prior to its airing was this series of moving posters featuring the central locations from each season prior being wrecked by an apocalypse. I'm a big fan of these as it harkens on the show's shared universe and its iconic landmarks. As I said earlier, the season of course features a plethora of returning characters from seasons 1, 3, and 1 from season 5, but not only that, we're also dealing with an entire other trove of brand new characters, and in some instances we have people playing up to 3 or 4 different characters in the season. Given this, the season has a pretty odd story structure to compensate for all of these goofballs, so for episodes 1 through 3, we are mostly focused on brand new characters who are taken to an underground fortress called Outpost 3 amid a nuclear apocalypse. Then, for a majority of the season, we flash back to 3 years before the end times as we witness the rise of Antichrist Michael Langdon throughout episodes 4 through 9, with the Coven witches we know and love simultaneously plotting their defense. This all leads to the final episode, episode 10, where we pick up when the Outpost 3 storyline left off, with the witches surprising Michael Langdon with a last-ditch attempt to restore the world they once knew. So now, with all of the groundwork laid out, let's delve into episode 1. As I've said, the season begins with a kind of mini-season before getting into the meat of the characters we know and love. So our story starts on the day of the titular apocalypse, with an all-out nuclear war wiping out the world as we know it. But shortly before, we meet Coco St. Pierre Vanderbilt, a social media influencer played by Leslie Grossman in her second AHS role. Her scene partner here is AHS Day Oneer Evan Peters, playing a hairstylist by the name of Mr. Gallant. Peters had been open about the toll some of his darker roles had taken on him, and after taking on 7 complex roles one season prior in Cult, it's clear that Mr. Gallant is a decidedly more light role for him. That said, this is still a Ryan Murphy show, and things still get pretty dark for old Mr. Gallant. Coco's assistant, Mallory, rushes in with a viral smoothie for Coco's feed, and she is immediately treated like the Zoe Benson to Coco's Madison Montgomery. Hint, hint.
Are you trying to fucking poison me? This tastes like turtle shit!
Mallory is played by Billie Lourd in her second AHS role. This is when shit hits the fan as emergency alerts light up everyone's phones, warning of imminent missile strikes. Coco's wealthy father calls from Hong Kong to let her know that he has reserved 4 spots in a special apocalypse-proof bunker for his 4 members of his family. But since he, Coco's mother, and her brother are all abroad, they won't be able to fill those spots. Meanwhile, Coco's husband Brock, played by Billy Eichner, who played the husband to Leslie Grossman's character in Cult literally just 1 year prior, is stuck in downtown Los Angeles.
Get to Santa Monica Airport. There's a plane waiting for us.
What?
Meanwhile, an absolute icon enters the American Horror Story universe, with Dame Joan Collins playing the role of Evie Gallant, an eclectic socialite and grandmother to Mr. Gallant, who soon shows up to gather Grandma in hopes that she can snag one of Coco's spare tickets to the bunker.
Missiles are coming.
So's global warming. Well, that's probably fake news. I'm gonna call Donald.
No.
Coco at first holds out hope that Brock might make it to the airport, but Mr. Gallant uses the art of persuasion to quickly get her to change her mind and allow his family on board.
Jesus, what happened to your hair?
What are you talking about? Okay, fine, just get on the plane.
Meanwhile, Brock literally won't be able to make it as he ditches his car in downtown LA and plans to run to the Santa Monica airport, which, according to my research, is about a 5-hour walk. Chaos ensues on the runway in Santa Monica as the plane miraculously takes off, and I really mean that because as Mallory soon discovers, no one is flying the plane. However, we have bigger issues. We are then treated to Apocalypse's title sequence, which is a nice mixture of new visuals and old or remixed visuals from both Murder House and Coven. I just broke down this title sequence and all 11 other title sequences in this underrated video of mine, if I do say so myself, so if you missed it, definitely check that out. Afterwards, we meet some other characters who, spoiler alert, will end up at the same bunker as Coco, Mallory, and the Gallants. Flashing back again to shortly before the emergency alerts, we meet Timothy Campbell, played by Kyle Allen, who has just learned he got into his dream college. But once the alerts go off, men in black enter and demand Timothy come with them.
Your son has been selected by the cooperative. We have a location prepared for him where he'll be safe.
Your son's exceptional genetic makeup makes him a prime candidate.
The men in black, and I'm using that term gender neutrally, are pretty upfront about their methods, admitting that they know his genetic makeup because Timothy once sent his DNA to an ancestry website. Which, you know, it ain't a terrible idea to look up which shady companies own the ancestry website before you send any of your DNA out in the mail. Timothy says he won't go without his family, so then armed guards force him away, shipping him into an underground holding cell where he meets fellow captive Emily. Emily is played by Ash Santos, and as of season 12, this is both Kyle Allen's and Ash Santos' only roles in the series. Emily says she was taken by the men in black from a jail cell where she was being held after protesting on her college campus.
This is happening. It's not.
2 weeks after the blast, Timothy and Emily are transported to their nearest luxury bunker, organized by the mysterious cooperative, Outpost 3. After passing some bleak gates, things get far bleaker on their long, foggy trek to the outpost as they witness 2 servants getting executed before their very eyes. They finally make it to the entrance, which looks more like a modern art piece than a door to an underground fortress. Inside, Timothy and Emily are disinfected, then met with some AHS legends in some brand new roles.
I'm Wilhelmina Venable.
A fiercely named villain with even fiercer fashions, Wilhelmina Venable is the second antagonist to be played by Sarah Paulson, who, like Evan Peters, had appeared in every season to this point. In the season before this, Paulson had a dual role as the season's protagonist Allie, but also as one of the Manson killers for just one episode. So, Venable is technically Paulson's second villain, but it was really the first time we got to see her fully flex this muscle in the series. Venable gives Timothy, Emily, and us some much-needed exposition on this cooperative.
It's a collection of the dozen greatest minds mankind has to offer. The Visionaries.
We also meet Miss Miriam Mead, played by the incomparable Kathy Bates, and we learn of a clear, color-schemed hierarchy going on at this outpost, as Emily and Timothy, with their so-called perfect DNA, are assigned purples, whereas the workers in the outpost are called the grays. And of course, you must dress to your assigned color.
What's a purple?
The elite. The worthy. Those chosen to survive.
Who are the Greys?
The Greys are here to serve, and grateful for the opportunity.
Venable says she's neither, but rather an extension of the cooperative, and she also makes it known that there are some strict rules that will be enforced by death.
And no unauthorized copulation of any kind, under any circumstances. You're joking? Ask the 2 Greys you saw on the way in if it's a joke.
Venable instructs that they shan't be late for dinner, so Timmy takes a shower where some real corny shit happens. We then meet the other purples at Outpost 3, including familiar faces Coco, Mr. Gallant, and Grandma Evie. Also purples are Stu, played by Chad James Buchanan, Andre Stevens, played by Jeffrey Boyer Chapman,
It's mineral water.
both series newbies, and then notably Andre's mom, Dinah Stevens, played by Adina Porter, in her 4th American Horror Story role. Mallory, we soon see, was not deemed worthy enough to be a purple, as she gets the trademark gray uniform, hairdick, and all. The gays in the outpost, of which there are 3, are annoyed at the selection of music, which is completely out of their control.
It's like Satan's Spotify playlist.
In fact, only one song plays each and every night, calling occupants of Interplanetary Craft the recognized anthem of World Contact Day by the Carpenters. This song is actually a cover of the original released by the Canadian band Klaatu, and its lyrics speak of all of humanity psychically attempting to contact extraterrestrials, inspired by that very event occurring in the 1967 novel entitled The Flying Saucer Reader by J. David. If you reasonably think that this is a hint towards a celestial connection in this season, you're wrong. I'm sorry. The preliminary Outpost 3 occupants' moods are lifted by the excitement of new faces as Timothy and Emily arrive in their new purple uniforms. Timothy gets starstruck by Dinah Stevens, who we learn was a famous talk show host. The purples are served gelatinous cubes for dinner by the Greys, which are their regular rations, but hungry, Coco has an outburst that gets quickly silenced by Venable. Venable explains that the reason the rations are so small is because of the infrastructure of the cooperative's outpost has shown some cracks. As a message sent by a carrier pigeon informed them, due to the nuclear war and fallout, no governments remain, and 3 other outposts have already been overrun.
We are the last vestiges of civilized life on the planet.
A right-hand woman to Miss Mead named the Fist then enters, played by Erica Irvin, also known as Amazon Eve professionally, and in a major role on American Horror Story Freak Show. The Fist lets the room know that the radiation levels indicate contamination within this room. Mr. Gallant and Stu are determined to have high levels of radiation on their clothing, and they are then taken to the decontamination room against their will, where they are stripped, scrubbed, and then tested once more by Mrs. Mead, who determines Mr. Gallant clean, but Stu...
Dirty.
Please, no.
Right then, she shoots Stu dead in the head. In a private moment, Mrs. Mead and Venable admire each other's most exuberant purple gowns, and over a game of cards, they admit that they messed with the sensitivity on the radiation detector, and thus Stu's death was purely a power play. He had done nothing wrong.
Strangely satisfying, isn't it? Dispensing punishment. I'm not embarrassed to say it gives me a tingle.
Miss Mead makes it clear that the 2 of them are taking a lot of creative liberties with how they're running the outpost, and the cooperative might not be too happy if they found out.
Forget the cooperative. It's only us.
The following evening, Venable declares the purples have earned a reward, a hearty meal. I don't know, you might call it a soup, a chili, or even perhaps a stew.
It's chicken.
Andre disagrees with Mead as he discovers a human phalange, and he declares, absurd, and I love it. As many ditch the meal, Evie Gallant chows down, declaring stew as a good source of fiber. Venable and Mead don't admit they've fed them their friend, leaving the purples to fiercely debate what is true about the stew afterwards. Their debate is interrupted when a new song comes on the radio that has, of course, only previously played that one song. The new song is The Morning After by Maureen McGovern, which was originally written and recorded for the 1972 disaster film called The Poseidon Adventure. Mr. Gallant and Mallory interpret the song's optimistic lyrics of holding out till sunrise as a message of hope sent by the cooperative.
We're gonna be rescued.
Yes, the cooperative is coming for us! Hallelujah! There's got to be a morning after.
The episode unexpectedly flashes forward an entire year and a half where that same song remains on loop, and the occupants of Outpost 3 are on the brink of sanity. Outside, a nuclear winter has made the entire planet inhospitable, although few survivors are clinging to life. Timothy narrates this to us as he also fills us in on his kindling romance with Emily, where they are rationing one kiss a week.
Just to be safe.
As of course, their love would be strictly forbidden by Venable. Speaking of her, she tells the others the next morning that the rations will be cut to only half a cube a day.
We don't know how strong we are until we have to face adversity.
I'm strong enough to shove this fork in your neck!
Mr. Gallant's rant is interrupted by a perimeter breach as a horse-drawn carriage outfitted for the nuclear winter approaches the entrance to Outpost 3. Outside, the equestrian provides some identification. Last name Langdon, first name Michael. That's right, this is the child born at the end of American Horror Story Murder House. He is, as we know, not only a child born from rape, but also a child born from a human mother and a spirit father, Vivian Harmon and Tate Langdon, all of which played out in season 1. Also foretold by Billy Dean Howard in that very season, a child born from a spirit and a human essentially could be the Antichrist who brings about the end of mankind.
A child born of human and spirit will usher in the end of times. It is the essence of evil, a perversion of the Immaculate Conception.
As the song Tonight You Belong to Me plays, the same one that played the last time we saw this guy, Michael Langdon makes his way to an impromptu meeting with Venable. Michael Langdon is played by Cody Fern, who had a recurring role on The Assassination of Gianni Versace, which aired earlier in the same year as Apocalypse. Langdon is the first of Fern's 5 roles in the greater American Horror Story universe, and I have to mention this, he's also been working on a film he wrote and is directing set to star Sarah Paulson and Toni Collette, so definitely keep your eyes out for that, fellow gay people. Michael praises Venable's leadership as she has kept the outpost running while many others have been overrun. In fact, at this point, only 4 outposts remain. Given the situation, Michael tells Venable the reason for his presence. There is a secret sanctuary outpost, and Michael is here to determine which of Outpost 3's occupants deserve to be taken there. He says it's not necessarily about there being limited space or resources, but that he and the cooperative will only select those worthy of surviving, and those determined unworthy will be killed. For me, this episode doesn't work until the moment Sarah Paulson is introduced as Wilhelmina Venable. Before that, Coco, Mallory, Timothy, Emily, the Gallants are all borderline annoying and generic. That is, until they are placed under the very specific constraints of Venable's power trip in Outpost 3, where we begin to see more of their complexities and their character dynamics are put to the test. Venable's introduction is great. Sarah Paulson's first real chance to explore an antagonist in the series does wonders for me. It's a shame it's so rare for her to show that side on AHS. And goddamn, the outfits Venable wears throughout the season are pretty incredible. So hats off to the phenomenal and Emmy award-winning costume department as usual. This season's costume design was led by Lou Eyrick and Paula Bradley, and they do not miss once this season. Kathy Bates as Miss Mead is also great in these early episodes, and this is Kathy's 3rd time playing a primary antagonist in AHS, so while it's no surprise that she can pull it off, I definitely appreciate that all 3 of her villains are all so drastically different from each other. The other highlights of this episode for me are, of course, the Stew is Stew, and the fabulous entrance of Antichrist Michael Langdon, the kid fans had been theorizing about for 7 years. As I've mentioned, you could definitely say this entire season was prophesized by season 1 Murder House when Sarah Paulson's character, Billy Dean Howard, spoke about the birth of a child between a ghost and a human being the Antichrist, potentially bringing the end of days. And as I said at the top of the deep dive, before Apocalypse, the show had already started to make connections between the seasons and establishing the entire show in one shared universe. To tell us some more about those mini crossovers leading up to the big one, let's throw it to our American Horror historian, EJ Marino.
Well, hello, you American Horror Story historians, and thank you so much for that introduction, Skyler. It was amazing. Or it was nothing at all. I have not seen your part yet, but I am so excited. You invited me to talk to your audience about the American Horror Story connections. This is a show with an intertwining universe. Sometimes it makes sense. Other times, it's very Ryan Murphy. That's all I will say. That's all I will say. But I am so excited to dive into all of the little mini connections leading up to Apocalypse. There is some juicy ones here. There's some stuff that we will hold off for later. But overall, let's get into all of the connections to see how American Horror Story ties into one another, jumping all the way to Freak Show. Freak Show has 3 defining moments that really brings this season all together to the other seasons. This was the first time we really saw the interconnections start happening, the interweaving of stories, mixing and mingling characters, because we get the return of Pepper. Yes, Pepper, who we met in Asylum, is introduced to be one of our freaks at the Freak Show. I absolutely adore Pepper. The actress's performance here is, she was amazing on Asylum, but the work she gets to put in here, it's just stunning. It's beautiful. It's heartfelt. It's just one of those moments where I was like, this is a talented actress getting to showcase her stuff. And I'm so glad Ryan Murphy brought her back for this very, I think, key role in so much. The episode we get, which is now about to be the next connection, where we see that Pepper was we see her moment with Sister Mary Eunice, her getting introduced to the Blaircliff manor. It's just wow. That moment I remember way back in the day now, when we see Sister Mary Eunice walk up and you're like, it's it really got our minds moving. It was wild, because with Murder House to Asylum, you're desperate. You are desperate for connections. You are trying to make something. So when we get this moment, it was mind-blowing. It's just beautiful. Sister Mary Eunice, the scenes, because this is again pre-possession, so we're getting a different version of her here that is an interesting, a loving woman, and her stuff with Pepper, and watching Elsa have to, lose this kind of key component to her freak show. It's so sad. The moments where we see Pepper and her partner, that whole tragic story, it is so beautifully dark, but so beautifully good. You cannot also talk about dark in American Horror Story Freak Show without talking about its biggest Asylum connection, and that is that Elsa Mars had her legs removed by Dr. Arden. Seeing what Elsa Mars had to deal with this moment, it's it furthers Arden's legacy as the grossest person. We know Bloodyface is gross. We knew all of this stuff was wild in Asylum, but Arden was always what he did to Chloe Sevigny's character, the most disgusting of all of the characters. I think in almost all of the franchise, Arden is up there. To see what he did to Elsa, it's just, it really shows these characters across timelines, across these different stories, across these different worlds. It was truly one of those moments where I was like, this show gets it. Even if I'm dark and uncomfortable, I'm amazed that the show got it. If you know me, you know American Horror Story Hotel is my season, and my goodness, there's some really good connections to the rest of the universe. One that we will see later on, and we're only going to briefly touch on here, but Queenie makes an appearance at the Hotel Cortez. That's all I'm going to say. The implications are big. We will talk about that later. Well, mostly Skyler's going to get into it with you all later. Oh my goodness. But you know what I really loved? We see the Countess visiting Murder House. That was, I think, the biggest goop for me, is being oh, Murder House. Seeing her have this medical procedure, seeing her established with the demented doctor. My goodness, Ryan Murphy and these doctors in these early seasons, disgusting, horribly scary people. God, even in Delicate. Wow, doctors in the American Horror Story universe. Maybe the profession I don't want to get into, but we see the Countess here at a very vulnerable point in the Countess's life. It's great. Gaga's work in this episode is amazing. It's just something really, really fun. You can also not mention Murder House without talking about 2 more Murder House cameos in the Hotel Cortez. It's Marcy the realtor from Murder House coming into the Hotel Cortez. It's crazy because it also shows that these are interconnected in even the smallest ways. Even a realtor character is just moving around, doing her thing, and just establishing herself in this California side of the story. It's just great. I love this. And we have one more thing. We have another Sarah Paulson role. Oh my goodness. I love Sarah Paulson, but I love Billie Dean Howard. I feel like we've never got her full potential, but seeing her do this little seance here with all the killers and stuff, I love Sarah Paulson in this season. You know, her smoking and that ratty hair. Oh, we all love her. Sure, great. But Sarah Paulson really eats in her small little Billie Dean Howard role. Like, I really enjoyed what we got to see with her here. And just this, like, again, tying in Murder House and Hotel, two seasons that I love the haunted theme of them, the otherworldliness of them. It's so beautiful, it's so dark, and it really establishes, like, Hotel Cortez, the Murder House. These are some portals to hell. You know, Roanoke is a season I'm often a bit harsher on than a lot of people, but hey, I have to appreciate the connections here. We get a crucial key point to the Asylum universe here. We get the Mott bloodline reference. We find out that Dandy Mott is a long distant relative of Edward Philip Mott, who is Evan Peters' character, but also that one ghastly person that we see in that one scene. Yeah. Oh my goodness. The Mott line. Do you remember when we were hanging on to like the Montgomery name at one point? We're like, oh, Montgomery, oh, Madison is here. But the Mott one is such a good little Easter egg there. We also get the Piggy Man origin story. You cannot think about Murder House without thinking about the Piggy Man stuff and how big that was there. This little small urban legend, this kind of throwaway reference in an episode becomes like a big plot point here, becomes a main killer in the Roanoke side of things. It is wild. Like, that's again the small expansion that didn't need to be there, but really does flesh out these stories and gives us a little bit more things to sink our teeth into. I really do appreciate. We'll see a character mentioned in one season to become a legacy character in another. We'll get to that shortly, but yeah, my goodness, I really do like the Piggy Man stuff. We also get a quick like a Briarcliff mention with the little ghost hunter people. They're like, ooh, what are we doing? What are we doing? Oh my god, this is like this other haunted place. We get the haunted land stuff. I just referenced it here. Sure, great. But you know what I really, really like here? The Lana Winters return. That is the key connection that makes Roanoke like a can't skip season. I could easily have, before the final little bit of the season, I could have said, man, on a rewatch, it doesn't add to the lore that much. Like the Mott stuff, the Piggy Man stuff, you're not missing things. But you get older age Lana Winters being a badass. Yes, like it's Sarah Paulson really plays these multiple role things very well, even within one season, and I really appreciate what she got to do here as Lana. We really got to see Lana in an older position, in a reminder of like, she's really that bitch. Like, I wish Lana could have been a key factor in multiple seasons, but I really do appreciate that we did get to see Lana here, and she plays such a key role to the ending of Roanoke. You know, Colt, another season that I feel could be almost forgotten if you really are like a hardcore reference-based person. You want all your interconnection, Marvel Universe-like stuff from AHS. But Twisty the Clown becoming like a creepy legacy, a legend in the AHS universe, starting off with this crazy killer that we meet in Freak Show, to this comic book character, to this pop culture figure, this like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees level character. Like, oh my goodness, like that was such a smart move, and I may not love exactly what they do with Twisty here. I maybe wanted more. Like, I get the clown establishing stuff because we get that with Allie being terrified of clowns, and that's an overall arcing thing, so the Twisty stuff makes a bit of sense, but I really appreciated seeing this little crazy clown back again, and it's cute, it's funny, it's not too in-depth, but it's just one of those things, much like the Piggy Man thing, where we see a character established, and then we're like, here, this is how big this character is to all of these like characters in a urban legend sense. I love urban legends. Rewatch the movie Urban Legend, by the way. Minus Jared Leto jump scare, it's a pretty good one. That's my random recommendation, my little movie review in this guy. But yes, we cannot talk about Colt without saying the tribe of Sarah Paulson characters. Like, what is the end of this like episode when she puts that little hood on and we get that like Lana Winters mention again, like reinforcing her cultural impact into American Horror Story, keeping Asylum's name and keeping Asylum's like importance throughout all of this. Asylum and Coven to me are two of those defining seasons that you cannot skip in American Horror Story. Like, they really established so many smaller characters. They're really some of the best seasons of this entire show. And as I mentioned here, like, things like Lana, things like seeing Arden come back, seeing so much stuff, you're like, holy smokes. When this show cooks, it is like Emerald Lagasse, Bobby Flay, like Alex Gordicelli, like cooking. Like, it is chef top level shit there. It's so good. Oh my goodness, I love when the show is good, and these like interconnecting things really prove why this show is good. But again, Apocalypse being the big interconnecting season, I love Apocalypse so much. I'm so happy Skyler's reviewing this for you all. What a beautiful season. I probably spent here too much talking about this with you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you again, Skyler, for inviting me, and let's get back to his awesome video.
The next episode details more of Michael Langdon's stay at Outpost 3, as strange, supernatural occurrences begin to happen in his presence. Written by James Wong and directed by Jennifer Lynch, it opens with Emily experiencing some spookiness alone in her quarters. The candles are blown out, then her wardrobe is opened, and inside she finds several snakes. After inspection, the snakes are then served for dinner. However, the group is subsequently spooked as the snakes come back to life within their soup. Later, Michael Langdon makes his entrance to the remainder of Outpost 3, where he fills them in on what he told Venable one episode ago. He prepares them for the upcoming interviews he'll be conducting to determine their worthiness of joining him at the Sanctuary Outpost.
The cooperative has developed a particular and rigorous questioning technique we like to call cooperating.
What is this, the Hunger Games?
This is the Hunger Games, darling.
Surely is.
12 tributes enter, 1 leaves. May the odds be ever in your favor, darling. Ever in your favor.
He bluntly lets them in on the fact that they will die if they're not chosen. Mr. Gallant volunteers to be questioned first, and Langdon opens by asking his sexual orientation.
I'm gay.
He then switches to probing about his grandmother, whom Mr. Gallant admits he hates. Michael then reveals he knows more than he leads on.
She shamed you in the past. Tell me who you really are.
This triggers an odd flashback to a party where Evie was trying to set Mr. Gallant up with a bunch of potential suitors. He shows up wearing leather, then puts on a gas mask before drinking bisque through the mask. Stew, soup, bisque. What's going on here?
Bisque? Freaking love bisque!
You're pathetic.
So you like leather? I like a lot of things. Are you gay? Because I'm getting a real major hit off of you.
Langdon leaves this unanswered and puts the interview on pause. After this, Mr. Gallant fantasizes about Michael before getting a knock on the door. It's none other than the Rubber Man. After their conversation about leather, Mr. Gallant assumes this is Michael, and the pair have sex. Evie walks in on this, gets disturbed, then she immediately reports her grandson to Mrs. Mead for breaking the copulation rules.
The things I have just seen. I'm terribly conflicted.
Emily proposes she and Timothy run away and take their chances trying to find the sanctuary themselves, so they break into Langdon's room, where they find a laptop with email correspondence with the larger cooperative, despite infrastructure like internet being wiped out. Above them, the Rubber Man spies from the ceiling. Michael Langdon then questions Wilhelmina Venable about her enforcing her own extreme rules and punishing people by death, and she lies to him and claims he's only threatened at her power. After all, the cooperative is predominantly run by men.
I'm just doing my best with the mess men made of things.
Michael then shares with Venable a testimonial about a family he saw while traveling here. He cries while describing the tumors on their skin and other nuclear radiation-related conditions. One of their children had already passed away, and the mother begged Michael to put her other child out of his misery.
Did you?
No. So, who deserves a shot at salvation?
Alright then, moving right along, Venable insults Coco and the Gallants, but she admits knowing next to nothing about the famous Dinah Stevens. Unwilling to stay on the same topic for more than 30 seconds, after all, Michael is 8 years old, Michael Langdon then demands Venable undress herself for a physical examination. He unzips the back of her dress to reveal a severe curvature of Venable's spine. Venable is clearly disturbed by this encounter. Miss Mead informs Venable about Mr. Gallant's affair with a mysterious latex-clad suitor, and she's pretty confident Langdon's behind the mask. They then chain Mr. Gallant up in a room that seems to be specifically built for this, and question him about Langdon. After Venable and Mead are through with Gallant, Langdon then enters and denies being the man in the rubber suit. He also says he would never have sex with Gallant because he's too needy.
You're pathetic. I can see why your grandmother is disgusted by you.
Michael lets Gallant know it was Evie who reported him, and in the library, the radio plays its third song, Time in a Bottle, by Jim Croce. Mr. Gallant then enters and confronts his grandmother for sentencing him to death.
No hard feelings, darling. I want to live.
You have lived!
I haven't. One lifetime of me is worth 50 of yours.
Alone in the library, Mr. Gallant cries as the radio seems to be hit with some interference, before Time in a Bottle is replaced by Gold Dust Woman by Fleetwood Mac, and in the hallway, the rubber man lures Mr. Gallant back into his room for round 2. In bed, Mr. Gallant recalls the hurtful things Langdon said to him, and still thinking it's Michael in the suit, he stabs the rubber man repeatedly with a tiny pair of scissors. However, this has all been some sick, spooky ruse, as Mr. Gallant is revealed to be actually stabbing his own grandmother, Evie Gallant, to death. Then, knowing the truth about Venable's lies, Emily and Timothy briefly question what else they've been lied to about, before realizing the sex rule doesn't actually exist, so naturally, they start tearing off each other's clothes. Afterwards, Miss Mead and the Fist force them out of their rooms and into the decontamination room where guns are put to their heads. But Timothy fights back and disarms a guard and lands a bullet in Miss Mead's chest. The episode ends with Miss Mead scurrying away from the ensuing fight as her chest bleeds milk and wires protrude from within, revealing her to be a robot in a clear visual reference to the synthetics from the Alien franchise. Let's talk about the Rubber Man in this season for a second, because his presence in Outpost 3 is pretty confusing in and of itself, and frankly, I still don't quite get it. In Season 1, of course, the Rubber Man was Tate Langdon, yet here, the Rubber Man seems to be an entity conjured and controlled by Michael Langdon, the Antichrist. It's never flat out explained, but we later see Michael Langdon himself wearing the suit in a flashback during a time in which he lived at the murder house. So given this, his conception, and the rule that ghosts can't travel, this Rubber Man seems to specifically be only a manifestation of Michael's powers and serves as a reminder to the audience and perhaps himself of his upbringing, his conception, and within the text of this episode being inspired by Mr. Gallant's leather flashback. There's definitely some lore that could have been explored there, but with how they kind of try to change Tate Langdon in the Murder House episode later on in the season, and how they try to change how the rubber suit itself functions and what it is in the Rubber Woman episodes of American Horror Stories, I guess I'm kind of glad they didn't, because at least it's open to interpretation. But I digress. In the episode, while Coco, Mallory, and the Gallants are getting a lot of screen time, characters like Dinah and Andre Stevens and Emmethy and Timely are already fading into the background, so much so that their names are merging together, which is definitely disappointing because, at least with those examples, there are some really interesting character dynamics at play, a mysterious mother and son and forbidden lovers, that don't get proper treatment, given that more or less these stories conclude in the next episode. And there's no doubt that Evan Peters is one of the show's crown jewels, but I hate to say Mr. Gallant is pretty dang boring, especially as he drives this episode. There's definitely a ton of redeeming qualities to the Outpost 3 storylines, but with the amount of actors and character dynamics that are present, it could have been so much more bombastic, sexy, and scary. Episode 3, Forbidden Fruit, is the first AHS episode to be written by Manny Coto, and it is also the first episode of the season to make good on the promise of the season being a crossover between Murder House and Coven. On top of that, it's also thematically a Halloween episode, despite airing a month before the holiday. Picking up shortly after the previous episode, Michael Langdon has stopped the execution of Emily and Timothy, as well as Mr. Gallant. In his interview with Mallory, he tells her he has a gift of being able to see the places in anybody's minds which they most wish to be kept hidden.
I don't have any dark places.
Really?
Much like he did with Mr. Gallant, Michael tries to get Mallory to admit hateful thoughts about her boss, Coco, but Mallory says she would never hurt Coco. In his interview with Dinah Stevens, it is revealed that the pair have a past.
I'm just saying it's wonderful to see you again.
Michael asks if she'll be any trouble, and Dinah admits that she's not strong enough to stop him. He tells both Dinah and Mallory that he senses they are the right type of soul to be sent to the sanctuary, and he continues to press Mallory on her secrets, but Mallory admits,
I don't know who I am.
What do you mean?
Sometimes I feel like there's someone buried inside me.
Mallory suddenly gets up and starts to leave, but Michael grabs her by the arm, and Mallory shows some of her true power.
I said, let me go!
Michael then gets up and flashes this odd demon face at Mallory, before Mallory seemingly causes a small explosion in the fireplace. Alone, Michael calls his dad, Satan, by cutting his arms while sitting naked in the middle of a pentagram, and he tells him that he found the witch who survived the apocalypse.
She's here.
The blood on the floor boils, and several snakes emerge from it as Michael's eyes turn black. A motif usually symbolizing demonic possession in the series, but this guy's just straight up the Antichrist, so. The show then flashes back to long before the apocalypse on Halloween night 1962 as Miss Mead narrates her first time trick-or-treating. Then Halloween 1968, Mead's first date. And lastly, Halloween 1988, Mead's first kill.
Harry's an agent, or Mossad. Orrin Butch was a terrorist.
What?
This briefly gets brought up again in 5 episodes, and it's extremely stupid, so please hold your questions. Back in the present, we see that Mead is recalling these memories to Venable, saying she has no idea when she became robotic or if those memories are real. She says she also remembers the love she had for a little boy she took care of, but she's unable to remember his face.
Every time I think of him, I cry. Do I even have feelings? Are they just programmed responses?
Venable tells Mead that Michael told her she won't be making it to the sanctuary, so Mead proposes a plan where the two of them kill every last person in Outpost 3 so the two of them can go to the sanctuary alone.
What has gotten into you?
She's a lesbian.
Not too far away from the outpost now, a traveler is making his way to seek his revenge. After killing another group of survivors, Coco's long-lost husband Brock notices one of the cooperative's horse-drawn carriages, and he hitches a ride, taking him directly to Outpost 3. But when Ms. Mead and the Fist investigate the carriage on arrival, they find it empty, only containing a briefcase of fresh apples. Venable and Mead plot to poison these fresh apples and set off their escape plan, while outside, Brock kills the Fist and breaks into the outpost. Inviting them to their deaths, Venable tells the others that tonight they'll be having a Halloween masquerade soiree, which of course this group of eccentric rich people are pumped for. Mallory tells Coco and Mr. Gallant about her weird encounter with Langdon, where she thinks she controlled the fireplace.
Maybe it was the blast, the radiation. Did something, and now I'm like the Dark Phoenix.
What are you saying? Are you saying you have superpowers now?
This is a reference to the X-Men storyline of Dark Phoenix, which was not only adapted in the early X-Men films, but also was the focus for the then upcoming X-Men film at the time of AHS Apocalypse's airing, entitled Dark Phoenix, which featured Evan Peters' return as Quicksilver. Then, at the Halloween masquerade soiree, Brock makes his move on Coco, who, thinking he's Michael, tries to seduce him, until he decides to unmask.
Oh my god, Brock! I'm so happy! You're back!
Brock then promptly stabs Coco in the face.
Happy Halloween, bitch.
Meanwhile, everyone else eats their apples poisoned with snake venom before vomiting literally everywhere and dying. Andre, Dinah, Mallory, Emily, Timothy, and Gallant all chowing down, then going down. Then, in Michael Langdon's room, Venable and Meade interrupt his web surfing to make an attempt on his life, as Venable instructs Miss Meade to kill Michael. But as Michael stares her down, Meade slowly pivots the pistol and shoots Venable directly in the chest.
I don't know why I did that.
You're obeying commands, like you're programmed to do. My commands.
Revealing he's literally been controlling Meade's movements via programming. He also says the poison apple plan was his all along.
Motherfuckers.
I'm having trouble with this.
Michael tells Meade that he had her made by the Cooperative's robotics team based on the prototype of a person who helped raise him, who was the real-life Miss Miriam Meade. And thus, this robot now has her memories and even looks like her. However, it's revealed later that they're not really entirely the real Meade's memories, so yeah. But she did help raise him, as you'll see.
I lost you and I couldn't bear it.
Once again, the radio is hit with some interference. This time, She's a Rainbow by the Rolling Stones plays as three caped figures approach the outpost. As the sequence progresses, it becomes clear that these figures are not the Justice League, but none other than Supreme Cordelia Good and two of her associates, Madison Montgomery and Myrtle Snow, both of whom ended Coven dead as a doornail. Once inside Outpost 3, Cordelia says,
"Find our sisters."
And Cordelia then performs Vitalum Vitalis on three of the fallen partygoers, resurrecting Mallory, Dinah, and Coco. Mallory wakes up with cured vision, no longer needing those big glasses, and she comes face to face with Madison, who says,
"Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me."
While, as I've said, Mr. Gallant wasn't my favorite character by any means, I do appreciate how his creativity and inner emotions were expressed through his work on Coco's hair during their time at the outpost. And by his work, I of course mean the work of the extremely talented hair team at AHS, which was led by 5-time Emmy winner Michelle Celia. Before the beloved witch's return, the episode features one of my least favorite things that has unfortunately become a trend on AHS: large groups of major characters dying within the same scene. It's pretty damn unsatisfying to watch a dozen characters you may or may not have gotten emotionally connected to die one after another without giving any time to process those deaths or the potential impacts they may have on the plot. Of course, in a season with witchcraft, the deaths themselves have very little impact to begin with, as evidenced by this episode alone, but while some of these characters appear in the rest of the season, more than half of them are left in the dust right here. Then, from the immense amount of dust and fog outside, the episode ends with three icons making their return, arriving at Outpost 3. It's pure fan service, complete with the reuse of Madison Montgomery's surprise bitch line, but damn it, I'm a fan, and it worked on me like a charm 8 years ago, and it's still a fun sequence to this day. And after 3 episodes of apocalyptic bunker horror, this shift in the season was a pretty big deal. I really respect the choice to spend these first 3 episodes establishing a brand new cast of characters and circumstances, even though it did end very anticlimactically for most of them. The only episode of the series to be directed by Cherie Folkson, the episode's title is dramatic and over-punctuated. Could it be ... Satan? But alas, that is the general premise of this episode, which begins to detail the rise of the Antichrist, Michael Langdon, and it's essentially a second beginning to the season, introducing a dense cast of characters, both new and old. Michael narrates describing his domestic relationship with Ms. Miriam Meade, a practicing Satanist in the Hollywood sense of the religion. It's important to remember, back in Murder House, Michael Langdon was shown to grow at a rapid pace in terms of development both within the womb and out. This is still the case here, as an unsaid elephant in the room here is that the nuclear apocalypse takes place in the year 2020, meaning that Michael Langdon, who showed up at Outpost 3, played by 30-year-old Cody Fern, is actually only 8 years old. After praying to the Dark Lord, Ms. Meade recalls killing her first 3 husbands.
That's evil.
Hell yeah. I'm a devil mama.
What the hell? The season holds back on connecting the lines of Michael's custody between Constance, where we left him in Murder House, and Ms. Mead, as we flash back to Outpost 3, where Michael is still attempting to explain to the android version of Mead that she is in fact a robot with the human Mead's thoughts, memories, and physical features. He reiterates that Mead is the only person he ever loved or trusted, thus he needs her help, albeit in this android form, to rebuild the world in Satan's image now that it's been all but wiped out. This conversation is shown to be happening simultaneously as Cordelia resurrects Mallory, Dinah, and Coco, which Michael senses. Downstairs, Myrtle says that not only have these three been resurrected, but Mallory and Coco have also been released from an identity spell that hid their identity as witches from themselves.
Because you're special, Mallory. And we need you. We need all of you.
Spicy gazpacho andaluz.
Dinah, though, says count her out, as she refuses to take sides or defeat anybody.
Who cares? As if you could ever defeat anyone with that backwards voodoo shit.
Spicy gazpacho andaluz.
Michael Langdon appears, Myrtle reads his ugly jacket, and Cordelia says they're all going to save the world.
Get the wax out of your ears. I'm here to watch.
I always thought the world would end with fire and ice, not...
Spicy gazpacho andaluz.
And that, my friends, is the end of the post-apocalyptic Outpost 3 storyline for the next 6 episodes until the finale, which will have us pick up from this very confrontation between the witches and Michael Langdon. After the title sequence, this episode flashes back to 3 years earlier, where we learn the underground facility we know as Outpost 3 used to be a school for warlocks called the Hawthorne School for Exceptional Young Men, essentially the male equivalent of Robichaux. It is here that we start to see this season's visual portrayal of magic, which I'll say is pretty hit or miss. This molecular shit looks straight out of Waverly Place to me, but... We meet an instructor, Behold Chablis, and his right-hand man, Baldwin Pennypacker, who are called into his office for an impromptu meeting with the proclaimed Grand Chancellor, Ariel Augustus, and a former instructor at Hawthorne named John Henry Moore. This is a complete full house of men from Ryan Murphy past, so let's break it down, lightning speed. Behold Chablis is played by Billy Porter. This is his first and only appearance in AHS. At the time, he was only recently introduced in the Ryan Murphy verse, with him starring in Pose, whose first season had just concluded 2 months before Apocalypse started airing. Baldwin Pennypacker is played by B.D. Wong in his first and only AHS role, but his first time working with Murphy was in 2014's The Normal Heart. Just like Cody Fern, John Briones, who plays Ariel Augustus, was plucked straight from the assassination of Versace for his first AHS role that very same year. Lastly, John Henry Moore is played by Cheyenne Jackson in his fourth and final role in AHS, at least as of season 12. Alright, Grand Chancellor Ariel Augustus is requesting this meeting to share with them a video of Michael Langdon being beaten by a police officer, before Michael telepathically pushes the cop against the ceiling, breaks a few of his bones, then literally makes his head explode. Ariel and John are having a disagreement about Michael. Ariel thinks he could be a promising young warlock on the rise, but John believes Michael is merely possessed by a demon, and he should be kept far away from the school.
He could be the one we've been waiting for.
Ariel then recites a prophecy about a warlock called the Alpha.
The warlock who becomes the Alpha will have power beyond comprehension. His magic will exceed that of the witches.
Here, it is established that warlocks are less powerful than witches, and thus could never and have never become the supreme. But if this prophecy is true, the Alpha would even be able to complete all 7 wonders. Ariel is tired of being second to the witches, and he is putting his faith in Michael to topple their matriarchy. Later, Ariel visits Michael, says, "You're a warlock, Michael," and we learn that what landed Michael here in the jail is that Michael killed a butcher who very disrespectfully refused to sell Mead a goat's head. Ariel breaks Michael out by paralyzing the guard against the wall, and when Ariel isn't looking, Michael mind snaps the guard's neck. Upon Michael's arrival to Hawthorne, Ariel tells us a large above-ground school used to stand above this underground one. You see, after Cordelia made the existence of the witches and warlocks public, as she foresaw, not everyone was on board with the new status quo. So, locals burnt the old school of warlocks to the ground, and what is now the entrance to the underground facility used to be a sculpture in the garden, now the above-ground school's only remnant. Aside from pure misogyny, this establishes another reason for Ariel to have such a hatred for the witches. A month into his studies, Michael shows advanced skill and power, so his instructors, alongside the Grand Chancellor, decide to perform an early test. Like the witches have the test of the 7 wonders, the warlocks have a similar test that is used to determine the level of one's power on a scale from 1 to 4. Ariel, Behold, Baldwin, and John are all level 3s, and they say there's never been a level 4 warlock in the history of their coven. Level 1 is scrying, using a mirror to see a hidden message or prophecy. Michael easily passes this level by locating a book, The New Adam and Eve by Nathaniel Hawthorne, hidden somewhere in the Academy, which is named after that very author. Only being challenged to tell the location of the book, Michael goes one step further and retrieves the book by reaching through the mirror.
Well, then we get some extra credit.
Level 2, Transmutation, but for some reason they have a different name for it.
Salare per spatio.
Of course, Antichrist Michael passes with flying colors.
Anything else? You want me to dust up here?
Level 3, Stiracidium, the ability to manipulate molecules of water within a space, causing things such as weather like rain or snow to occur. If he passes this, he's on the same level as his instructors despite only undergoing 1 month of schooling. Michael easily produces a hearty snowfall but quickly gets overcome by power and causes an intense cold that nearly freezes his instructors.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that was inside of me. Thank you for your spirited participation, Michael.
Despite not reaching level 4, they end the test here as the warlocks claim Michael is the most powerful warlock they've ever seen. Ariel, Behold, and Baldwin are eager to have someone to stand up to the witches, but John Henry Moore is still very reluctant about Michael, sensing his extreme darkness. Ariel is insistent on putting an end to the matriarchy of the witches, and insists that the moment of action is now. Then, get ready to fangirl, cause... we get our first appearance of Robichaux's Academy in the season. While the exterior shots are repurposed shots of the Buckner Mansion in New Orleans, the interior of Robichaux's was recreated at the Fox lot in Los Angeles, where of course this season was primarily shot. Inside, Thaisa Farmiga returns as Zoe Benson, who is teaching a class of new witches how to change the pigment of a flower. As she lets her students try it out, she tells Cordelia to keep her eye on Mallory, who we see is already a very powerful witch. She not only changes the rose's color, but turns its petals into living butterflies, then back to petals.
She claims her grandmother told her that her bloodline stretches all the way back to Satan.
Myrtle enters and announces that the Hawthorne School has called for an emergency council. Once again, her second resurrection still goes unexplained for now, but given that she's taken Queenie's place in the Witches' Council established at the end of Coven, it probably has something to do with the fact that Queenie got trapped in a sort of purgatory during a guest appearance in AHS Hotel, which now is the perfect time to do a quick rundown of what happens in Queenie's Hotel episode, Battle Royale. Hotel is currently my favorite season, so don't get me wrong, I very much intend on doing a hotel deep dive one day, so I'll be keeping this brief. Queenie randomly arrives at the Hotel Cortez halfway through Hotel's penultimate episode, where she first meets Iris and Liz Taylor, who have just been sent to fetch some dinner for vampire Ramona Royale.
Dinner is served.
Queenie has booked reservations here for a 3-night trip in Los Angeles, where she's got tickets for The Price is Right, enchanted by Cordelia ensuring she'll be chosen to come on down. Liz Taylor recognizes Queenie from Cordelia's reveal on CNN at the end of Coven.
Oh, it's this amazing story. There's a whole gaggle of them.
Which is a nod to the fact that Coven's epilogue and Hotel's main storyline take place in the same year of 2015. Queenie's sixth sense kicks in once she gets in her room, but setting her up, Liz and Iris leave her alone in the room where she is attacked by Ramona Royale. Queenie uses her powers to deflect many of Ramona's attacks.
I'm a human voodoo doll, bitch.
And she overpowers the vampire significantly until she is stabbed by John Henry Moore, the long-dead serial-killing founder of the Hotel Cortez. Queenie's powers don't work on him because, as he so beautifully says,
"You may be a witch, but I'm a ghost."
And Ramona then feasts on Queenie's powerful blood, and Queenie fucking dies 4 minutes after she shows up in this place. And much like the murder house, if you die in the Cortez, your spirit remains trapped there. Once arrived at Hawthorne, the witches serve fashion and learn about the powerful Michael Langdon as Ariel Augustus officially challenges Cordelia as the Supreme, claiming Michael's abilities surpass her. This is crazy. He's only been educated on his abilities for a month and has shown to be unable to limit some of his more dangerous capabilities, but Ariel is too tired of being second to a woman to do any sort of due diligence. The witches laugh at his claims, and Cordelia is assertive when shooting down Ariel.
You actually believe this? Men are simply not equal to women when it comes to magical ability.
Not to mention everything else.
She says testosterone is the reason why.
It impedes access to the ethereal realm.
Ariel dismisses this and gets to the point. He wants the witches to oversee Michael attempting the 7 wonders. Cordelia says absolutely not because she has no faith in this boy to achieve it. And of course, she knows the consequences of failing the 7 wonders is death.
I lost one of my most promising witches, Misty Day, by sanctioning a test before her time. I won't make that mistake again.
Ariel basically says, well, that's because you liked her, and you're quick to abandon other witches in your coven.
Queenie.
Of course, it's the black girl you leave behind. I see you, Miss Supreme.
Cordelia says the boys have it all wrong, and once she sensed Queenie's life force vanish during her trip to Los Angeles, Cordelia tracked her down to the Hotel Cortez.
The Cortez is a place of evil. A hellmouth.
She calls it an entryway into all things dark and satanic, where the devil reigns. We then flash back to Cordelia attempting to free Queenie from said hellmouth. She finds Queenie shortly after we left her in hotel, now a ghost, playing cards with her killer, James Patrick March, played by Evan Peters, reprising the role and effortlessly slipping back into the accent.
Ah, a live one.
Cordelia tries everything in her power to free Queenie from the hotel, but because of the hotel's own immense power, Cordelia's magic cannot free Queenie.
The light from which we draw our power was extinguished by Satan himself.
She calls this
my greatest failure as Supreme.
So again, she says Michael will not perform the 7 wonders.
Why do you get to decide that?
Because I'm the fucking Supreme.
No, you're just a scared bigot. And to ages of female dominance. I'm telling you that time has come.
And your time is up.
In another room, Michael's eyes turn ice blue as he scribbles a doodle of the Hotel Cortez. Michael then arrives at the Cortez to try and rescue the witch from the hellmouth.
Take his hand, Queenie. I'm not sure you have a choice. Solitaire it is.
And as March sensed, Michael successfully rescues Queenie from the Cortez, then says,
"There's one person left to get."
The show then picks up in Hell, Madison Montgomery's Hell to be exact, where she works the cash register for a never-ending line of department store customers who mistake her for Lindsay Lohan.
You're not even the star of your own hell. You're a nameless day player in my eternal suffering.
This is notably different than Madison Montgomery's Hell in Coven when she performs Descensum. She comes back saying her hell is a network television production of The Sound of Music Live. So either personal hells can change now, or they forgot that detail from Coven. Either way, I don't care that much. Performing Descensum into someone else's afterlife, Michael visits Madison, who gets straight to business.
You're a snack and I haven't had a good dicking in forever.
Damn. A hoe even in the afterlife, huh?
And he brought Queenie.
Oh. Get off me, bitch.
Madison and Queenie exchange some fan-servicey lines to each other, then Michael says he needs the 2 of them.
For our powers?
No. To prove a point.
Somehow still at Hawthorne during all this, the witches' council depart, but outside they come face to face with Michael, Queenie, and Madison. Cordelia is so gagged that she briar blushes.
Are you okay?
Guys, she's going down. Go down, medic.
Quick sticks, back there.
Come on.
I'm trying to rub her chest to wake her up.
That better be real.
Wow, this episode is dense. While warlocks were mentioned in Coven, the only one we really ever saw was Quentin, played by Leslie Jordan. This episode introduces an entirely new lore of warlocks. Sure, a lot of it's copy and paste from the witches and Robichos, but despite there being no mention of anything like Hawthorne in Coven, I actually can believe that these two covens coexist and have coexisted, and more importantly, I buy their beef. To set all of that up and to have most of it gel with what we know about this show and its magical lore is an accomplishment. This episode had a lot to do, and the team executed it very well. In the latter half of the episode, it starts to feel a bit like the Star Wars prequels, with a lot more talking than doing, but in AHS, it's in those really wordy moments where the gold sometimes lies, so I didn't mind it at all. I really enjoyed how Cordelia describes the Hotel Cortez in this episode as a hellmouth, and I think it immediately became a lot of fans' headcanons that alongside the Hotel Cortez, the Murder House, Briarcliff, and the Roanoke Mansion are easily other hellmouths and entryways to hell in the AHS universe, helping to explain why such dark souls are drawn there. And after this season, Camp Redwood definitely fits the bill as well. After the Warlock and Witch feud is established, the rest of the episode is an abundance of fan service, with visits from James Patrick March, Queenie, and Madison. But within these fan servicey moments, we have some blatant misses when it comes to recreating the show's iconic locations, starting with Robichos. I mean, come on. Before the recreation is revealed, we get a reused grand fisheye shot of the real location in NOLA. Then you cut inside and you're like, where the hell are we? Did they remodel? The room Apocalypse uses for Coven's primary meeting spot is this small dining room that you can see was an attempt to recreate a similar area of the original set built for Coven, but even in that, it looks scaled down and the room itself is not recognizable from season 3. The room they clearly should have recreated was the portrait room. It would have taken more budget. It's big, but it was used as the primary meeting place in Coven, and the fact that we never see any glimpse of it in Apocalypse takes away a lot of potential continuity that the 2 seasons could have had. They recreate some upstairs bedrooms and hallways as well for Apocalypse, which do work a bit better than this dining room, but for me this was one of the season's biggest missteps, not allocating more budget to making sure Robichos looked right once it did return. Similarly, when the Hotel Cortez returns in this episode, they took the easy route, not attempting to recreate the lobby in any way, shape, or form, instead only using a bleak hallway and a bleak hotel room, and right outside the front door. Even in these easy choices, the recreated sets still look off. I know it would have been so expensive to literally recreate the entire lobby. No executive would sign off on that. But why not just recreate a little nook of the front desk? It's so awkward watching Cordelia and Queenie run through the hallway and then straight outside. It just calls attention to the laziness and again breaks the in-universe continuity that could have happened between this episode and Queenie's episode in Hotel. But let's move on. Episode 5, Boy Wonder, opens with Cordelia experiencing a vision foreseeing the apocalyptic destruction of the Robichos Academy and its surroundings. As Cordelia is eaten alive by cannibals, Michael Langdon laughs at the former doorstep of the school, once again looking like a pale demon. Cordelia wakes up from this vision at the Hawthorne School, where she was taken back to recover after ivory glazing outside.
Wait, somebody...
She's going down. She's going down.
Please, somebody help her.
Madison brings up one of my biggest critiques with the finale of Coven, how quickly her murder at the hands of Kyle gets brushed under the rug.
Did you guys even know I was dead?
We knew.
You are back.
Oh, I see we're just brushing it right back under the rug. Something also being brushed under the rug is Cordelia's health, as she dismisses her faint as purely just shock. Cordelia then tells the important witches and warlocks about the vision she just had.
Cataclysm, fire, death.
She says that she feels the vision is trying to tell her that the fate of the world will be determined on whether or not she allows Michael to test to become the first male supreme. Pretty clearly misinterpreting that vision, without further conclusion or thought, Cordelia declares,
At the rise of the blood moon, you will take the test of the 7 wonders.
Cordelia, this isn't done!
That is my decision, and nothing in the world will change my mind.
Okay. Back at Robichaux's, I guess it never came up on the journey back to New Orleans. Myrtle again pushes back against Cordelia's decision to let Michael do the 7 wonders and begs to know why.
Have we learned nothing from Attila the Hun, Herod the Great, Mark Zuckerberg?
Get him.
Men make terrible
Cordelia
leaders.
says she is worried that it is her hubris that will lead them towards that apocalyptic vision. She wants to recognize what's best for the Coven as a whole and not cling on to the supremacy like her mother before her.
I will not put my own selfish desires before the Coven. I am not my mother.
Myrtle says to remember how even Cordelia was overlooked for the supremacy, so maybe Cordelia's successor is not what is most obvious at this time, and is instead their own young and powerful witch, Mallory. Myrtle then decides to tell Cordelia something you'd think she'd tell Cordelia the second it had happened, but some time ago, Myrtle witnessed Mallory bringing a dead deer back to life, but she didn't stop there, she also turned the deer back into a fawn. Myrtle begs that Cordelia delays Michael's test in order for Mallory to rise,
Give another Delia time to blossom.
but Cordelia says,
There is no time. I'm fading.
she has developed physical ailments, is losing her powers, and she feels like she is dying.
You have just reached your prime.
Cordelia then takes a meeting with a new witch at the academy, future Outpost 3 occupant, Coco St. Pierre Vanderbilt herself. Her father donated money to Robichaux's and has brought her here against her will, but Coco doesn't think her powers warrant being taught here.
I'm a gluten detector. There's gluten in here.
Despite her lame power, Cordelia welcomes Coco with open arms. Before the witches arrive to test Michael on the cusp of the blood moon, his instructors give him a good luck ring of fire, and Michael jump scares John Henry Moore with his demon face. So John then heads straight to his room to pack his bags, connecting what he just saw to the demonic face Cordelia described from her dream, so he's off to go meet with her in New Orleans. Behold says John's just jealous, and this sparks a warlock fight.
Stand down, bitch.
John easily overpowers Behold and leaves Hawthorne en route to Robichaux's. However, he does not quite make it there, as he meets a murderous maid by the name of Miss Miriam Meade, who slices him up, then lights him on fire with gas and a match. Afterwards, Meade meets with Michael outside Hawthorne.
These people are the only ones who could pose a threat to me.
They may be wizards, but they're not exactly whizzes. Everything is going beautifully.
From the shadows, Grand Chancellor Ariel Augustus joins the pair.
He knows about John Henry. Does? Yeah, just don't talk about your father.
Turns out Ariel helped coordinate Meade's murder of Moore because he too could not bear the chance of John screwing up Michael's ascension. Then, in a callback to Coven, we see a silent film segment detailing the 7 wonders, only this time starring Michael. One by one, he masters telekinesis, concilium, transmutation, divination, pyrokinesis, vitalum vitalis, leaving dissensum for last. Cordelia, though, is adding an extra challenge for Michael.
I'd like you to retrieve my dear friend Misty Day, who lost her own battle with this very task.
Ariel takes Cordelia aside to condemn her for changing the rules, and things of course get heated.
You're nothing more than a weak, frightened woman, just like Fiona.
With a flick of my finger, I could crush your larynx and tear it from your throat.
So, there's that.
I suggest you fall in line, because I am still your supreme.
And thus, Michael descends and finds himself in a dark, liminal hallway. Seemingly knowing his way around here, he opens a door to Misty's Hell, biology class with actor Wayne Peer reprising his role as Mr. Kingery, and of course, Lily Rabe in her 7th AHS appearance. We see some more of Misty Day's loop, and I must say they did a great job recreating this similar scene from Coven, a step above so many of the other attempts at recreating moments from Coven throughout the season. And it is oh so satisfying to see this scene end much differently for Misty and her teacher. And boom, Misty reforms from the very similar dust she faded away into. Again, great continuity all around for Misty's re-entrance in Apocalypse.
Come on. Yes. You're back. You're safe.
A lesbian. That girl is a lesbian.
Cordelia and Misty definitely had a bond in Coven that allowed for them to become a ship amongst the fandom, but here in Apocalypse it feels like the two of them are canonically long-lost lovers. But then Cordelia's nose starts to bleed, and she starts to turing
Airtime.
as Ariel declares a new Supreme has risen.
You are a pathetic, pompous ass.
There can be no doubt. You are the next.
You need water? Does she need to breathe in the paper bag?
After Misty nurses Cordelia back, and they share some more chemistry-loaded interactions.
I knew you for such a short time, and I've missed you forever.
Misty warns that she had a bad feeling about Michael, revealing an extra detail to when he went down to hell to rescue her.
I couldn't understand what they were saying, but he listened. Evil was speaking to him.
Cordelia admits she has had a secret plan this whole time.
Secret plan, revenge on my mind.
And she never intended for Michael to become Supreme. She only wanted to see the lengths of his power as she too senses his darkness. And you'll never guess who the fuck walks into Hawthorne.
Hello, witches. Oh my god.
Cordelia has called this telegram for her dearly beloved.
This is for you, Misty.
Stevie Nicks then performs track 5 off of Fleetwood Mac's Mirage album, with assistance from Baldwin Pennypacker on the keys.
She was just a wish. She was just a wish.
Madison and Cordelia get bored and have a private chat in another room, where Cordelia instructs Madison to visit the birthplace of Michael Langdon to find out everything there is to know about the guy. Eavesdropping, Behold Chablis then enters and demands he tags along too, thus setting up perhaps the most historic episode in AHS history, Return to Murder House.
What's so special about this place? It's where it all began.
In this episode, we establish a sort of rivalry between Michael and Mallory, at first with the context of who is the rising Supreme who is causing Cordelia to fade. Mallory gets some really good moments in this episode, and it feels promising, but once we're through the next few episodes, I think you'll agree that there are a lot of missed opportunities with Mallory. That said, these two episodes, 4 and 5, are when the season just works the best for me. It's half fan service, half establishing some really interesting new things for the lore of the series, like expanding the Warlock lore and introducing new concepts like Hellmouths or this liminal hallway in the underworld. A lot of these things aren't really revisited in the latter half of the season, which is to its detriment, but in these episodes, Michael feels threatening and powerful. He walks around hell like he owns the place and speaks in tongues to demons. It's pretty cool, and then when the season starts to tear away at this character's power, intelligence, and his connection to hell, well damn, it ruins a majority of the stakes and intrigue. Then Stevie Nicks makes her third nonsensical trip to AHS, where she provides some hope in the form of a musical number. Why the hell not? Hope to see her in season 13. And now, I want to take a moment to thank Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. Manta Sleep is your one-stop shop for all of your rest and relaxation needs. Their Manta Silk sleep mask and their petite travel-friendly white noise speaker have been helping me get some of the best uninterrupted sleep of my life. The masks are completely adjustable, comfortable, and of course they block all traces of light. And if you wear eyelashes, the masks don't put pressure on your eyelids or lashes, which even if you're not trying to protect your lashes, it's significantly more comfortable than your standard mask. Mother's Day is coming up real fast in the US, and a Manta Sleep mask would be a perfect gift. So check out mantasleep.com and make sure you use code SKYGAE, SKYGAE, at checkout for 10% off your order. With their wide range of products, you're bound to find something to ease your sleep needs. And as summer travels approach, I can also attest to the fact that their products are extremely travel friendly and very handy for catching Z's on the go. So again, check out mantasleep.com and use code SKYGAE, SKYGAE, at checkout for 10% off your order. Thanks again, Manta Sleep, for sponsoring this video. This extra special and extra long episode of AHS features the return to the haunted house that started this whole debacle, the Murder House. An iconic location for the series, this is of course not the first nor the last time the franchise has milked this cow. Interestingly, this episode filmed primarily at the Rosenheim mansion for both interiors and exteriors of the murder house, unlike in season 1 where only the pilot shot entirely on location and the rest of the season shot with recreations of the house's interiors on a soundstage, give or take a handful of exceptions. The owners of the Rosenheim mansion sued the real estate company that sold them the property earlier in 2018 for not properly disclosing the status as a tourist attraction for fans of the show. But clearly their issue was with the real estate company and not the show itself, as they allowed the AHS crew to film inside their house in this season, which too filmed in 2018. But this episode is also historic for being the directorial debut of Sarah Paulson, because I guess playing 3 different characters in this season wasn't enough pressure. When it was announced that Paulson would be taking a seat in the director's chair this season, it was also announced that Evan Peters would similarly take on his first directorial duties, but those plans did not end up coming into fruition for unknown reasons. As we set up at the end of the previous episode, Madison Montgomery and Behold Chablis need to investigate Michael Langdon's upbringing by visiting his birthplace. To do this, this pair poses as a couple and they purchase the mansion. Once inside, no spirits show themselves at first, but Behold senses that they're here.
I pity the souls trapped here. It must be hell.
I've actually been to hell. I promise you this is better.
Behold then leads a spell to force the spirits from hiding, so the two of them can interview some fan-favorite ghosts about Michael. First, Nurse Gladys appears, played by Celia Finkelstein once again. They then see the Harvey children before overhearing a session between Tate Langdon and Dr. Ben Harmon. This is the only time in the franchise Tate ever reappears, but later on Dylan McDermott would again reprise at least a version of Ben Harmon in American Horror Story's Game Over. Tate mentions how Vivian no longer speaks to Ben, and Tate asks for help on how to get back on Violet's good side after she found out about all of his atrocious deeds. No, Tate, I think you should leave her the fuck alone.
Violet, please. Talk to me.
Tate says Ben should help him get Violet back despite his crimes because...
I'm different now. You know, I'm dead and I'm hot and I know she has feelings for me.
Great character work, guys. The witches interrupt and demand answers about Michael, but both of these ghost guys deflect their questions.
I'm busy.
You're dead. What do you have to do?
I gotta look out the window and cry while I masturbate. It's my daily thing.
You know, he only did that once in season 1, but it's like all they mention in both of his reappearances in the franchise.
Sorry. I usually only cry like this after I masturbate.
Pardon?
Nothing.
Overhearing Tate describing being unable to talk to Violet, Madison Montgomery is already writing her own fanfiction about these exes.
It's a romantic tragedy.
And thus, Madison now also has a side quest in the episode to try and repair Tate and Violet's relationship. Great. Beauregard's ball then bounces down the stairs before Beau himself fucking takes Madison down. Once again, Beau is played by actor Sam Kinsey. A split second later, none other than medium to the stars Billy Dean Howard, Sarah Paulson's first ever AHS character, appears for the 3rd time in the series.
So you're like a shitty Miss Cleo. Excuse me?
Billy Dean de-escalates the witches and explains Beau is pure-hearted, just playful.
I've known a few Montgomerys in my time, but it's not every day that I see a witch.
This is of course referencing Charles, Nora, and Thaddeus Montgomery, whose spirits inhabit these very halls, although they are among those who don't get cameos. Then, alert, alert! Absolute icon Constance Langdon descends the stairs, marking Jessica Lange's first dramatic return to the franchise after swearing to be done with the show after Freak Show.
Yeah, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
I'm Constance Langdon, and this is my fucking house.
Not long after, we get another major returning Murder House character, as we witness Moira O'Hara still facing torment from Constance. But Moira is able to land some jabs at Constance too. Constance says she'll answer questions about Michael only after the witches do her a favor by removing Moira's bones from the graveyard.
You want us to fire the help?
Well, if you really do have witchcraft, then why don't you just abracadabra that goddamn bitch out of my afterlife, huh?
So they demolish the gazebo and start digging so they can remove Moira's remains from the grounds. freeing her spirit from the house.
It's me. My bones.
Moira gets on her knees in gratitude as she finally has been given the chance to leave this hellhole of suffering, which was her main goal of season 1. At her request, Madison and Behold rebury Moira's bones at the cemetery where her mother is. It's there that Madison Montgomery has a brief chat with Chablis about feeling exploited during her time in Hollywood. She says when she dies, she wants to haunt Paramount Studios' Stage 7, where she says she was pressured into her first nude scene.
Totally gratuitous. I begged for a body double, but the asshole producer wanted to get his rocks off, so.
If you're gonna reference the then recent eye-opening on rampant sexual abuse and rape culture in Hollywood exposed during the Me Too movement, this is the way to do it, in my opinion, not this.
I'm telling you, that time has come.
And your time is up.
That said, does this conversation go anywhere, and does this get brought up again? No, but Madison Montgomery was an actress who grew up in the industry and notoriously killed a director who she didn't get along with shortly before her story began in Coven. So this added bit of history not only reflects the social context of the time, as many AHS seasons do, but also falls directly in line with what we know about this character. And given her entire storyline in Coven, this rage against rape culture is more than warranted, and I think could have even been amplified given how undercooked her character arc ended up being in Coven. The show then lets us all rejoice in Moira reuniting with her mother, Molly. This is great. I mean, one of my major critiques in Murder House was how they spent the first half of the season setting up this great want for Moira as she plotted an escape plan, only for that storyline to be abandoned for 5 whole years. So this is some hard-earned fan service that actually has its setup in its original season, unlike the upcoming Tate and Violet shit. Molly O'Hara is one of the few returning characters to be recast, and is now played by actress Irene Rosine, who also briefly appeared in AHS Roanoke as Margaret. As in...
It's for Margaret.
The actress who originally played Molly in Murder House, Marilyn O'Connor, sadly passed away just 2 weeks after her appearance in Season 1, Episode 4. Moira confesses to her mother how she is responsible for her death after Halloween night at the nursing home, and she begs for forgiveness.
I was in agony, and you gave me peace.
Mother and daughter then have a lovely late-night walk into the heavy fog. With Moira out of the house, Constance gives Michael's life story, starting with reused clips of his birth from Murder House. She tells them Tate's his father.
Now, I am the first to admit that there were mistakes made raising Tate.
Constance says she saw Michael as her chance for a do-over as a mother. Again, we see her back on her bullshit, keeping newborn Michael in that godforsaken closet of broken mirrors she used to subject Adelaide to. We learn that before Michael inevitably killed his babysitter in that final scene of Season 1, he had shown some homicidal tendencies before, dissecting flies in his crib, then bigger animals.
It was Michael who made me realize that I was put on this earth to raise the monsters.
Recounting that aforementioned babysitter murder, Constance explains that she convinced the authorities the sitter took her own life. Then comes the time he turned into Cody Fern overnight.
He'd aged a decade overnight.
Another night, she woke up to Michael strangling her almost to death before stopping himself and apologizing. So she then called a priest, but Michael wasn't interested. And it was then that even she decided Michael was no monster she could raise.
This one shattered me beyond recovery.
She says that for a while she found purpose in raising Michael like it was the first time she mattered. But she realized Michael was using her, and she sensed he could end up killing her.
I wasn't going to give him or any man the satisfaction.
So we watch as Constance goes out on her own terms, walks down the street, and takes her life in a smoky, drunken dance at the murder house where the spirits of many loved and despised ones reside. Awakening in her next realm of living, she is surrounded by her 3 children that too have passed within these walls. Tate, Beauregard, and who the fuck is that? Well, my friends, this is Rose Langdon, Constance's retconned fourth child. Originally, Constance's fourth child was revealed in a deleted scene from the pilot episode, but that scene and character was cut entirely from the season, leaving room for this character to be completely reimagined as Rose. Reaching the end of her story with Michael, Constance leaves to go have a tea party with Rose. Then, reaching the climax of his recent window session, Ben is interrupted by the witches for any intel he has on Michael. He says the first time he saw Michael was when he came over to the murder house looking for Constance the day she took her own life. Capable of remorse, Michael sobs over her dead body before being subjected to a session with Ben Harmon.
He wanted to be good. Desperately.
So Ben began taking on a fatherly role with Michael. But things turned sour when Michael met Tate.
You didn't scream from my nutsack, got it? Not even I could create something as monstrous, as evil as you.
Girl, at this point Michael's still done nothing compared to the crazy shit Tate's done. However, during this time spent at the murder house, let's just say Michael's mental state level was rising, as Ben once found him in the basement cosplaying as Charles Montgomery, giving Elizabeth Short a Joker-esque smile. Elizabeth Short is once again played by Mina Suvari, who effortlessly slipped right back into the role. However, did this real-life murder victim seriously have to be brought back just to be shown in this violent way again? Do you like the name Elizabeth? Well, you're in luck, because we are then immediately introduced to a couple that had moved into the murder house around this time, Grace and Elizabeth, who are immediately murdered by Michael while he wears the rubber man suit. He also Fiona slams Ben before burning the spirits of Grace and Elizabeth. As he does this, his face briefly flashes with that white demon.
Michael didn't just kill those women. He made them cease to exist.
Convinced that Michael is bad news, Madison is ready to go back to present their findings to Cordelia, but one last ghost appears for a testimonial.
It won't be so easy.
Played by the fab Connie Britton in her second of 2 appearances in the series, Vivian contextually fills us in on how Ben and Vivian ended season 1 dead, but on relatively good terms, only to now be not speaking to each other. Vivian explains that once Ben began getting close to Michael, she had to distance herself because she couldn't help herself from hating Michael. But just as she said back in Murder House,
Your son needs you, Ben. He needs his father.
Speaking of course of Jeffrey, Vivian's newborn who shared the womb with Michael and only survived for 1 breath. So now I guess Ben and Vivian are chill again. Vivian then breaks down to Madison and behold why exactly she hated this boy.
The murder of crows would encircle the house every day.
Well, sure, yeah. She then details that Michael drew visitors to the house, specifically Satan worshippers. These cloaked cultists are Samantha, played by Naomi Grossman in her second role across 3 seasons, of course portraying Pepper in both Asylum and Freak Show. She would also later appear as Rabid Ruth in the Drive-In episode of American Horror Stories. And I must say, she steals this scene, and she's too good for her role to be this small. With Samantha is Miriam Mead, and this is how she first met Michael. And these 2 ladies are led by Anton LaVey, who is another real-life person. These 3 are Satanists, and again in the show that very literally means that these people worship Satan as if he were a real entity, requiring things like human sacrifices. But in reality, while Anton LaVey did found the Church of Satan, the church doesn't actually believe in Satan, for starters. So as usual, this portrayal is complete and utter fan fiction.
I fake my death to prepare for this day.
We followed a dark star from the west. The signs are impossible to miss. A home built over the portal to hell.
These 3 introduce themselves to Michael. Then, on a later day, they kidnap a young woman and bring her to the murder house, where they ritualistically rip her heart out before Michael takes a bite of it. When he does this, the shadow of Satan rises from behind him.
Father, I'm with you now.
It was then that I made the decision to kill him.
So, a bit like Luke Skywalker to Kylo Ren, Vivian snuck into Michael's room while he slept, and she raised her blade above his bed. But Michael was awake, so he started to burn Vivian's soul like he did to those lovely lesbians. But in a cheap bid at redemption,
Tate saved me.
It was from that night on that Miriam Mead raised Michael.
Ben is not his father, nor is Tate. He was born from the evil of this house. The source of darkness is his true father.
Behold tells Madison he never would have fought for Michael if he knew the depths of his capabilities, and he wants to help her and the witches stop him. Despite being so eager to tell Cordelia the tea, Madison stops on her way to console a sobbing Violet Harmon. So, with 3 minutes left in the episode, Madison will attempt to reunite Violet with Tate.
You can't imagine what it's like to know all the horrible things he's done.
And still be in love with him. I've done some bad things I'm not exactly proud of in my life. And my second life.
But based on a couple hours at the murder house, Madison feels like an expert on the matter. So, kind of echoing what Vivian just told her, she tells Violet that Tate was merely a vessel for the house to create an even greater pit of darkness within Michael. This is bullshit and contradicts season 1.
My guess? Any evil inside Tate left with Michael.
Bullshit.
It'd be nice if that were true.
Don't change your mind, Vi, please. God damn it. Madison blew her special truth dust. And now, Violet rushes to Tate to thank him for saving Vivian from Michael the night he left. And Tate apologizes again for all of his atrocities. And that's literally it. Kissy kiss. This episode, a complete and utter cameo fest, has some really great moments. Jessica Lange's screen time is not wasted, and she gets more screen time than I remember expecting at the time. Her death scene is very great and impactful, and it's one of the most well-shot and well-executed moments in the episode. But it furthers the tragedy of her kids now being trapped with her, as even if this season softens her a bit, this woman is still an extreme child abuser. At least Adelaide is free, and no retcon or time travel can change that. Right? Connie Britton looks phenomenal as Vivian. I wonder who her hairstylist is in the murder house. My guess is it's the Harvey daughters. Moira, a tragic character in season 1, gets a really satisfying epilogue to her original arc. It's almost good enough to make up for how much I hate what they did with Violet and Tate in this episode. Tate is a deeply troubled person who has done extremely unforgivable things to humanity and to Violet's family, and to Violet herself. Season 1 toys with the idea that perhaps the house's darkness is the real source of Tate's darkness, only to definitively reject that idea, showing us exactly each and every moment that led to the escalation of his darkness, violence, and manipulation. This episode then seems to have just taken the Tumblr romanticization of these two characters by teenagers, thought that must mean it's good fan service to bring them back together, and in the process they ruined the point of these two characters and their conclusion in the first place. And I really struggled to believe Vivian would have anything good to say about Tate, even if he saved her from the death of all deaths. To make matters worse, Tate's wig in this episode looks really damn stupid the whole time. In episode 7, Traitor, we finally get more explanation on Dinah Stevens and her powers. A voodoo practitioner, we learn that Dinah assumed Marie Laveau's throne after her death towards the end of Coven. Despite this being our first hint of other voodoo practitioners besides Laveau in this AHS universe, the show still doesn't fully let us in on how big the community is. There's only this line.
What's a queen without subjects? Or a domain?
Dinah is a different kind of queen than Laveau. For starters, she lives in a lavish mansion, and nowadays she makes her money by doing dirty deeds for rich women. One day, Cordelia shows up to ask Dinah for a favor.
Get me a meeting with Papa Legba.
Whom Dinah refers to as the voodoo devil, which, beyond still being a wildly different description of who the spirit is in actual voodoo religions, it's also a stark contrast to how he was spoken about in Coven.
That would be the only reason you need to talk to the
He's a deity. Show some respect.
He's actually neither, guys, and it doesn't take that much research to find that out. Even in-universe, they can't keep it straight. But anyway, despite the inaccurate descriptions, once Papa Legba does appear, he's a scene stealer once again, with the role being reprised by Lance Reddick. As he's a gatekeeper to the underworld in-universe, this is one of the cameo inclusions that feels the most natural, and the whole team did a phenomenal job keeping continuity with his costume and makeup. After a small fee of $100,000, Dinah takes Cordelia to summon Papa Legba, who tries to entice Dinah to the same deal he made with Marie Laveau, of immortality in exchange for a pure soul every year. But as Dinah says she's done several times before, she says absolutely not. When he gets to Cordelia, he already knows why she's here.
The Antichrist, Michelangelo, bringer of the end of days.
Papa Legba is reluctant to stand up against Satan and says that it would need to come at a hefty price. He recalls the last time he was being summoned by a supreme and a voodoo queen when he was given Nan, whom he calls the greatest gift of all, and summons.
Cordelia, long time no see, bitch.
Cordelia seems surprised. I guess she didn't do that much digging into Nan's death, nor Madison's for that matter. Jamie Brewer returns from Coven as Nan, who says she's enjoying her time with Papa in hell.
What do you do down there?
I make trouble.
As his price, Papa Legba asks for all of Cordelia's witches, so she obviously calls off the deal.
Now, not only will your girls die, but 6 billion other people will too.
This episode also introduces us to a second character portrayed by the legendary Joan Collins, with another impeccable name, star of the silver screen, Bubbles McGee. Nowadays, Bubbles McGee is starring in things like this Christmas-themed slasher, A Christmas to Dismember. We watch Bubbles do her thing as her scene plays out, murdering her husband after he gave her some ugly shoes.
And I fucked your business partner every year since 1972.
Things take a turn when Bubbles' character and her granddaughter begin to be terrorized by an escaped asylum patient dressed as Santa Claus.
Run! To the neighbors!
This is too similar to not be a reference to Lee Emerson, a character from Asylum, who similarly decked the halls with blood while dressed as Old Saint Nick. I really enjoy this because, at least in my head, it feels in a similar vein to the twisty comics in AHS Cult, referencing older events and mythology in the AHS history that have now become intertwined with pop culture in the modern day. Roanoke even does the reverse of this, revealing the Piggy Man urban legend from Murder House traces back to ancestors of the cannibal Polk family, who are of course introduced in Roanoke. Eventually, a director calls cut, and we meet the real Bubbles McGee, who we learn is also a clairvoyant witch. Well, more specifically, she deciphers the truth within someone's soul, rather than just plainly reading their thoughts, although the power is portrayed in the same exact way as Nan's regular clairvoyance. Madison Montgomery visits the set, and this is not the first time these two witch actresses' paths have crossed.
You are one of the reasons why I left the Coven.
Apparently, Bubbles was a mentor at Robichaux's for a time, but once Madison arrived, she found herself being drawn back to acting, a talent she explained she worked hard for, unlike her magic abilities, which she was born with. Madison is here to summon Bubbles for the ensuing fight against Michael Langdon.
Get your broom.
At a glitzy meeting with Myrtle, we learn that the two used to be good friends while students at Robichaux's. Myrtle says that they need Bubbles' power to decipher Michael's true intentions within his soul, and also Grand Chancellor Ariel Augustus. At Hawthorne, this trio gets to work interrogating Augustus first, while Myrtle reprises her theremin melodies. However, Michael won't be showing tonight, as he's decided he needs to go spend some time alone in the wilderness. Okay. Thanks to Bubbles, the witches now know that Ariel wishes all of the witches were dead, and they also know about the murder of their fellow warlock, John Henry Moore. At Robichaux's, Queenie and Zoe explain the concept of a Supreme to Mallory.
The old one dies.
And Coco announces that her powers have developed. Now she not only can psychically tell if food has gluten in it, she can also tell how many calories any item of food has. So we test this ability for far too long until she fucking chokes on a Hostess Snowball and dies, as these three mega powerful witches comedically act like they can't even attempt a Heimlich.
Oh shit, she dead now!
Are we serious right now? Of course, the dead don't stay dead with witches around, as Mallory just fucking reaches into Coco's throat, through the side, removes the food, then brings her back to life. Back from her meeting with the Queen and two spirits, Cordelia arrives and tells Zoe that she's dying.
I don't think you're fading because Michael's the next Supreme. I think it's Mallory.
During a large meal at Robichaux's, the witches and Behold do some light planning and some very late exposition on how Myrtle came back into the fold between Coven and now.
I know damn well the challenges we're facing. I've known for some time. It forced me to do something I vowed I would never do.
In this flashback, we see Cordelia conducting a spell that brings Myrtle back from her second death, and she returns in that same outfit from the Coven finale.
Cordelia, what have you done?
But danger is coming, and I need your guidance.
This doesn't make much sense, and they don't even show or tell us any vision Cordelia had all this time before meeting Michael. It just says she sensed danger, so she resurrected Myrtle to help her. Despite literally having a perfect excuse right there, as I said earlier, you could just say, hey, we lost Queenie at the Hotel Cortez. We had to resurrect Myrtle. Okay, sure, whatever.
And now that we are united and ready, it's time to fire the first shot.
But before we do that, we gotta serve looks as newfound vape god Myrtle Snow shows off her skills. At the gas station, where John Henry Moore got, Zoe magically gathers all of his ashes.
I remember him being told that.
Cordelia instructs Mallory to bring John back to life, which triggers another silent film sequence. Yay! This time telling us that we've somehow skipped all the way to Mallory's final step of the 7 Wonders. Wait, what the fuck? Despite how frustrating that is, Mallory easily brings John back, while a speech card half-heartedly announces Mallory as the next Supreme of the Coven. So, there's literally 3 living Supremes right now. How does that work? Back in color, John tells the witches about the woman who killed him, Ms. Mead, so Cordelia tasks Coco with fucking killing her, I guess.
She needs to be eliminated.
Like a real devil mama, Mead commits an unforgivable sin of not putting her shopping cart away before Coco gets ready to throw down.
I hope you like it hot, bitch, because where you're going...
A for effort, but alas, Mead got the upper hand. But luckily the Coven's Secret Service were on the scene, and they successfully kidnapped Miriam Mead, and Coco's fine, it was just an anesthetic. At Hawthorne, Baldwin Pennypacker unveils a biological weapon, magical dust that only kills women, which they plan on killing all of the witches with. But the witches are somehow right on the other side of the door as they discuss this, and they interrupt their fuckery and destroy their dust.
Cordelia, your powers have already waned. Michael will bring...
My powers are waning. Say it again.
The episode then ends with the witches burning the 3 traitors, Ariel Augustus, Baldwin Pennypacker, and Miriam Mead at the stake. So, I love this episode's opening, introducing the character of Bubbles McGee through the lens of A Christmas to Dismember, and I love the choice to bring Joan back in this new character, even if I do have to keep reminding myself that it's not Evie Gallant, because Joan Collins basically plays the character identically to Evie, the main difference being her magical abilities. The rest of the episode is the first of the season to truly follow a typical TV episode structure, but in doing that it still cuts a lot of corners. Without a doubt, the highlights of this episode are Lance Reddick's return as Papa Legba and Jamie Brewer's return as Nan. Both actors, as well as episode director Jennifer Lynch, did a bang-up job keeping continuity between these 2 characters' last appearance in Coven and their first appearance here in Apocalypse. And while the same could visually be said for Myrtle's resurrection scene in this same episode, character-wise, that scene is lacking severely, especially Cordelia's reasoning to bring back Myrtle. It's just a vague feeling of doom, which, takes a major blow to the sacrifice that Cordelia was making at the end of Coven to let Myrtle, turn herself in. And Myrtle comes back and she's like, why the hell did you do that? And Cordelia's like, oh, I don't know. We could have written something stronger, I think. Another thing about this episode that I dislike is how they completely skip to the end of Mallory's test of the 7 Wonders. While that test certainly did get redundant towards the end of Coven, while several witches are attempting it in the same episode, I think showing us Mallory's full test of all the 7 Wonders could have been even better handled than the 7 Wonders were handled in Coven had it been stretched across this episode and the next 2, replacing the storylines of the 2 new characters played by Evan Peters and Billy Eichner. Take those 2 out, put some good character stuff in for Mallory as she attempts to do the 7 Wonders with her mentors, and the second half of this season could have been improved tenfold. Episode 8, where the season officially loses its focus, aired on Halloween 2018, and the episode details Michael Langdon's journey from the wilderness to a satanic church, then to coming face to face with the cooperative, in the form of some of the dumbest characters to ever grace our television. But first, it's Michael's discovery of Miss Mead's ashes, as well as a visit from Cordelia telling him she's trapped Mead's soul under a spell only she can break, so Michael cannot just simply resurrect Miriam.
You don't have to follow this path your father laid out for you.
That leaves him running off to the woods seeking answers from Satan.
You tell me what to do, or you let me die here.
4 days later, Satan leaves his baby hanging until he's hallucinating some real wild shit featuring heavenly children, Ms. Mead, and Anton LaVey.
Would you like a grape Fanta?
No, I'm on a mission.
It's so juicy.
Leave me alone.
Why you do this to me?
I'm afraid. God loves you.
A goat visits Michael, he stabs it, then snakes come out.
What do you want from me? What am I
So
supposed
he then
to do?
gives up and wanders into an alley where he finds an entrance to this satanic church, where Sandra Bernhard debuts her first of 2 AHS characters. This one named High Priestess Putt, who rants about Trump and needing some more passion from her followers as they await the Antichrist to bring the end of times.
Somebody please help me out. I'm about ready to gouge out my own eyes so I don't have to look at this weak-ass congregation anymore. Whatever, okay. Let's speak in tongues for a hot second.
I'm not supposed to be reviewing this yet, but god, this episode sucks. Noticing Michael's disheveledness, a believer named Madeline, played by the phenomenal Harriet Sanson Harris, offers him a home-cooked meal. At Madeline's house, she gets the tea on Michael, knowing he's the one they've been waiting for, solely based on the 3 6s scarred behind his ear. Madeline brings Michael's good news back to the church, where they're sacrificing 2 clearly well-intentioned people, a social worker and a doctor with Doctors Without Borders. Yikes. Everyone else instantly believes Michael is telling the truth because of his birthmark, and now Michael's got a couple dozen Satanists trying to feed him their favorite recipes.
It's my mother's recipe.
Now try the macaroni salad.
No, the turkey meatballs.
Michael disappoints Madeline by telling her he has no plan regarding the apocalypse.
But you're the Antichrist. But nobody gave me a fucking instruction manual!
Madeline, though, has an idea, so she takes him to the headquarters of the cooperative, who she reveals is actually composed solely of people who have sold their souls to Satan.
Hail Satan!
Inside, we see a familiar face, as Wilhelmina Venable is working the reception desk.
I'm gonna report you to HR.
I am HR, bitch.
And upstairs, we meet Dumb and Dumber snorting some nose candy.
Tell me that wasn't the last of it.
I ordered more, bro.
Buckle up. These 2, named Mutt Nutter and Jeff Pfister, are heads of robotics, but they clearly only have sexual intentions with their creations. They also are the creators of the easy listening playlist that would end up torturing the occupants of Outpost 3. I hate everything about this scene, so I'm just gonna breeze right through it. Michael visits Jeff and Mutt to task them with creating the android replica of Miss Mead, but they don't believe that he's the Antichrist, so he murders a sex worker that seems to just work in Jeff and Mutt's office. Not only that, he makes her cease to exist.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
I hate this episode. Now believers, Jeff and Butt speedrun their backstory, but none of it matters, so here's the stupidest parts.
But did Elon give us any credit? Any opportunity for advancement? No! Fuck that shit! Fuck it! Fuck it! Fuck it!
Billions! We inhale booger sugar like it's fucking oxygen, and we bang Victoria's Secret models every Tuesday.
Thursdays we get Ryan Reynolds. Fuck that shit! Fuck it! Fuck it! Fuck it!
The rest of the episode speedruns their creation of robot Miss Mead.
It's not good enough, bro.
Think! I'm thinking! Think hard! I'm thinking! Think faster!
We need to make her Mossad.
Yeah! Mossad!
Wait, so Mead was never actually an agent for Mossad. These 2 fucking idiots just decided Robot Mead would have that memory? Fucking tracks, I guess.
How I've missed you, Michael.
This might be the worst episode of the franchise. I'm not usually overly negative, I guess to some people I am, but this episode just took wrong turn after wrong turn. Half of the episode is just Michael and other Satanists just screaming, "I don't know what to do," at each other over and over again. After losing Mead and his warlock mentors, Michael is suddenly powerless. Yes, he's supposed to be a child, but an Antichrist child that develops rapidly, who still, we know, has the ability to kill people with his mind and make them cease to exist. But to see him regress to a full-on, ambitionless, idealist, powerless vegetable, it just doesn't track with what he was shown to be capable of before this. At this point, he's already the most powerful warlock ever. He has resurrected several witches, and he took a trip to hell where he knew exactly where to go and even talked to Satan and or demons through those fucking school kids. All of that is now stripped away and we're pretending he's never been able to do shit. In the span of this one episode, the main antagonist of the season loses a majority of his mystique and threat level. The rest of the episode is filled with shit we frankly didn't need to see explained for us. The cooperative made a robot clone of Miss Mead. Great, that could have been an email. We knew that already, actually. Instead, it's some of the worst failed attempts at comedy this show has ever given us, mostly focused on these two snorting coke and objectifying women. To top it off, the episode gives the random sex worker it introduced one of the worst deaths imaginable for no damn reason. What the hell are we doing here? We do have some really good guest stars in this episode: Harriet Sanson Harris, Sandra Bernhard, Dominic Burgess, but Harriet plays a nearly identical substitute for Miriam Mead, and Sandra's character is unbearable. And then Dominic's performance is so forgettable, I already forgot about it. Did I mention I hate this episode? Apocalypse's penultimate episode begins back at the robotics lab with Mutt and Butt Shitter.
What are we doing? What's going on?
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
These two drugged up bowl cuts are pissed at Michael's lack of any plan, so they begin one of their own. Venable overhears this and she wants in, but the bowl cuts dismiss her.
Your scoliosis isn't the problem, Miss Venable. It's the chip on your shoulder.
I'm done here.
At Robichaux's, Mallory's powers seem to have weakened, but experts Myrtle and Cordelia reassure her that her powers will ebb and flow as she learns to harness them. But Mallory says the apocalypse is coming, and there's no time for her to master her craft in order to save the world. But Cordelia says as long as she and the other witches remain inside the walls of Robichaux's, they will be safe.
I put all of Robichaux under the protection of an aura shield.
She also says that any human, demon, or other non-witch will not be able to enter the house while under this shield. So damn, if the cooperative enacted the world-ending nuclear war, Cordelia wouldn't even let any humans take shelter in her magically apocalypse-proof house. That's fucking cold. Meanwhile, in their boring dining room, Zoe, Queenie, and Bubbles teach the younger witches this very protection spell, while on the porch, now helping Michael Langdon, Voodoo Queen Dinah Stevens conducts her own spell. This seems to undo the aura shield as the Antichrist himself enters Robichaux's with his new android, Ms. Mead.
Come on, you can't be that surprised to see me.
Fuck no, you were prophesized, darling.
Zoe and Queenie use their combined power to send every sharp object on the table flying Michael's way, but he stops these mid-air before sending them all flying into every witch present. Bubbles McGee falls dead on the table, and Robo Mead removes her forearm, revealing a machine gun. There's then a horrific montage of each of the surviving witches in the room being shot, including Zoe and Queenie, as upstairs, Cordelia, Myrtle, and Mallory take shelter.
Our sisters are dying!
There is nothing you can do to help. You are not ready.
Downstairs, Dinah ensures Michael will put in a good word for her with his dad.
Satan just greenlit your talk show for 13 episodes.
At Mead's house, Michael gets upset that Cordelia, Myrtle, and Mallory escaped. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Mead's speech is literally being controlled by the bowl cuts, putting the pressure on Michael to come up with an end-of-days plan. Michael then details the plot of The Omen 3, which the bowl cuts call out through Mead, and instead lead Michael back to them, where he is presented with a list of public figures who are in the cooperative.
Putin, Buffett, Clinton.
Oh, Bill, not Hillary.
And then, bowl cut number 2 reveals that the cooperative is just a code name.
The real name is the Illuminati.
What's going on?
69.
Yeah.
They tell Michael that everyone in the cooperative has sold their souls to the devil. He already knew that. So they're essentially Michael's own army already. And since so many in the cooperative are heads of government, he knows they have the means to start a nuclear world war.
It's the prophecy, bro.
It's in the good book. You read this book?
Michael then speed reads Revelations, then says,
"What's next?"
Towards the end of the episode, the bowl cuts give Venable what she wants as they offer her a role in the cooperative as the head of one of its own apocalyptic bunkers, known as Outpost 3. You know the one. And they sell her on it by saying she can enforce any rule she wants, no matter how outlandish. So she kind of wasn't lying earlier when she told Michael that the cooperative gave her the green light to do her dictatorship. Cordelia, Myrtle, Mallory, as well as Coco and Madison, wherever they were, retreat at Misty's shack in the wetlands of Louisiana. Cordelia psychically travels back to Robichaux's and attempts to perform Vitalum Vitalis on Zoe and Queenie, but it fails.
I saw them, but I couldn't feel them. I couldn't feel their souls. There was
Madison
nothing.
then tells Cordelia about Michael's ability to make people cease to exist by burning their souls.
How can you keep this from me?
I mean, for real, what the fuck? That would have been like the primary piece of information to share with her.
No, please. There must be something we can do. Please. Please. Please.
Myrtle then pulls out the spell books to completely introduce the nail in the coffin that is this season's conclusion: time travel.
You know, if I could go back in time, I would les it up 24 hours.
In universe, the ability to time travel using magic is called Tempus Infinitum, and it is such a rare ability that Myrtle confesses she's always thought it was a myth. But what the hey, we got nothing else to do, so let's see if Mallory can do time travel.
But the tales of those who tried all end in death.
So Cordelia runs a tub, and Myrtle confesses she's a stan of the Romanovs of Russia.
A family that, to my mind, marked the historical height of grandeur.
Okay. We flash back to Siberia in 1918, the night of the family's infamous execution after being revolted against and exiled. Myrtle narrates, though, and reveals Anastasia Romanov was actually a witch, and she failed to save her family with a protection spell that very night. Myrtle says maybe with Mallory's help, she could have saved them.
You want to send me 100 years into the past to thwart the Bolshevik Revolution?
We need a dry run.
What are we doing? What's going on?
So Mallory gets in the tub as her mentors send her to her potential death, and we see Mallory successfully travel to that cellar in 1918.
Don't you want to live?
Despite Mallory's help, the protection spell still doesn't work, and Mallory disappears just as Anastasia is killed. Despite failing to save Anastasia, Mallory proved she can survive the spell, but
she almost died, Myrtle.
Cordelia brings up Fiona again.
God, I hated her. But now here I am, and I'm not ready to let go either.
We all die, Pen. Some of us make rather a habit of it.
Myrtle says even now, Cordelia is no Fiona. Cordelia genuinely cares about and considers her actions, whereas Fiona was always self-serving. Cordelia says that they need to invoke the sacred taking, which was introduced in Coven, in which, particularly in times of crisis, a Supreme takes her own life, allowing for the next Supreme to rise.
Our powers are tied. It will accelerate the process. I die so she can be born.
Myrtle says they still need Cordelia's power, and they then travel to Hawthorne to ask for help from their council. But when they arrive, the school is empty. The witches search the halls until they come across every single student and faculty member of Hawthorne horrifically slain and arranged in the shape of a pentagram. The episode ends as we catch up with Michael Langdon at the headquarters of the cooperative, where he gives them black brochures pitching them on the outposts, and he tells them,
"Friends, it's time for the apocalypse."
Of course, the bowl cuts don't get any better, and all of their conversations about the Illuminati in the episode are just garbage. Rather than, I don't know, taking a chance to get a little creative about this universe's secret society. Honestly, the episode is on the same level of bad as the last one. On top of the bowl cuts, we've also got time traveling to rescue the Romanovs. Then the episode also features a brutal scene where some of our favorite witches are killed, not with magic, but with a machine gun. That scene is not well done in a creative sense, and all around it just feels wrong. Also, I'm not sure if they were trying to make a parallel between this assassination of the witches and the execution of the Romanovs, but intentional or not, the parallel is in this episode, and trying to make sense of that is even harder than trying to make sense of the time they intercut the assassination of all of Marie Laveau's associates with scenes of police brutality during the civil rights movement back in Coven. We are right near the end, and the season has taken some weird turns, so let's see how they pull it all together in the final chapter. Although series co-creators Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk tend to write the first episode of each season, they rarely pen their finales, with this being one of only 2 exceptions in the show's history. It starts with a meeting of 2 red-haired divas as, at the Cooperative's robotics lab, Myrtle tells Venable she's here to meet with
Mr. Matt Nutter and Mr. Jeff Pfister.
Myrtle lounges in the egg-shaped wall openings as these 2 immediately get off on the wrong foot.
You need to take me to your employers.
You might as well ask me to explain your hair.
But Little Miss Venable doesn't know who she's messing with.
How did you get past security without an appointment?
I did something like this. My hair is an internal mystery, never to be fully understood.
Myrtle steals Venable's key card, and upstairs, a map shows us some locations of other outposts. Number 1 is in New York State, Outpost 2 is in West Virginia, Outpost 4 is in the Bahamas, with celebrity guests including Jennifer Lawrence, Charlize Theron, and Scarlett Johansson, and our Outpost 3, aka Hawthorne, is in California. Myrtle enters and gets all of the intel on the outposts, and she orchestrates for the survival of Coco and Mallory, revealing it was she who ensured Coco's father had tickets to the outpost, as well as ensured they wouldn't be able to use all of those tickets. Then, who's flying the damn plane? Well, that was also Myrtle. Myrtle then kills the bowl cuts, but tragically, we don't get to see it as this takes place off screen. But thank God, they're gone, folks. We made it through them. At Misty's shack, Cordelia and Myrtle lay out the post-apocalypse plan to Coco, Mallory, and Madison, who has been sidelined so hard since she got back from the murder house. Cordelia says they only have one chance to use Tempus Infinitum, so they can't do it until they know Mallory is ready, thus them needing to endure the nuclear war and then do their time travel at a later date. It's then that Cordelia places Coco and Mallory under their identity spells, complete with a new personality for Coco, who is now designed to bully Mallory in order to make her suppress her magical abilities and doubt herself.
We've modeled your new personality after Madison.
No, there must be another way.
Consider it an upgrade.
This is so Michael cannot detect Mallory's abilities, which feels too easy of a fix, but I mean, whatever.
I don't think I can be responsible for the lives of 7 million people.
Yes, you can.
Cool. Madison then poses as an Uber driver, dropping these 2 girls off on their new lives before seeing a bus ad for Dinah Stevens' new show, which gets her thinking conspiratorially before sharing her theories with the remaining 2 people she knows.
There is no way that bitch could get a show on television without selling her soul to the devil.
Cordelia stops Myrtle from burning Dinah at the stake right then and there, saying there's no way Dinah's magic could undo the power of the identity spell, despite 1 episode ago Dinah Stevens herself undoing a so-called unbreakable protection spell done by Cordelia. We then skip ahead a bit, past the apocalypse, to just before the witches resurrected Coco, Mallory, and Dinah at Outpost 3. Cordelia, Myrtle, and Madison survive the nuclear blast by burying themselves in the swamp mud outside Misty's shack before getting cleaned up and heading to California. Then, picking up where the beginning of episode 4 left off, we once again see the face-off between the witches and Michael, and of course, Dinah, who is just there to watch. Michael tempts them all to join the dark side, but only one gives in. Dinah Stevens.
Cordelia, you raised me from the dead so that you would have the power of voodoo on your side.
You're half right, Dinah.
She needed the help of a powerful voodoo queen. But that ain't you, sis.
Back from hell, Marie Laveau struts down the corridor to lodge a cleaver in the neck of Dinah Stevens. But first, we flash back to the hell where we left Marie back in Coven, where she spends her days torturing Delphine Lalaurie, which they honestly did a great job replicating. None other than Nan, Queen of the Underworld, enters, and behind her, Cordelia. Cordelia says Papa Legba is unsatisfied with Marie's work in the underworld.
You have no heart for torture, Marie Laveau.
Cordelia promised Papa Legba the
darkest and most corrupt voodoo queen soul for mine.
Angela Bassett returns here after taking the previous season, Cult, off, and this would be her last appearance on the series until later this year, when she will return in AHS 13. Alongside Kathy Bates and Jessica Lange, who will Cordelia does some magic that makes Mead, do this. This is a reference to the song Daisy Bell, being one of the songs first programmed into a computer, which is in turn referenced in the novel and film versions of 2001: A Space Odyssey, with its antagonistic robot HAL 9000 ominously singing it similarly to Ms. Mead. Madison picks up Mead's machine gun arm and fires about 1,000 rounds into Michael, which temporarily takes him out, long enough for Myrtle to steal a lock of his hair, which will help Mallory travel back in time to kill him.
I'll hold him off as long as I can.
This is, unfortunately, not long. Upstairs, Mallory is immediately stabbed by a crazed Brock.
It's payback, bitch. I serve it cold.
I like it hot.
Cordelia tries to heal Mallory as Michael closes in, and Marie Laveau watches guard.
Get her out of here! No matter what happens, it's better than where I was.
But as Marie and Michael face off, it unfortunately ends anticlimactically once again, with barely even a battle.
You will not pass.
Really think your stupid voodoo spells can stop me?
Coco comes in with an assist, but as Michael eats Marie's heart, he snaps Coco's neck. Fuck. Unceremonious deaths left and fucking right. Meanwhile, Mallory clings to life as Cordelia frantically tries to get her to try Tempus Infinitum.
It appears as though we're fucked, my dear.
Cordelia finds Michael in the hall, where she delivers a kick-ass monologue.
I look at you, and I don't see a man. I see a sad, scared little boy so pathetic he couldn't even kill me with 1,000 nuclear bombs. Satan has one son, but my sisters are legion, motherfucker.
Cordelia's sacrifice, the sacred taking, immediately overwhelms Mallory with power, and she begins Tempus Infinitum. We find ourselves back at the murder house, well, actually a few doors down at Constance's, the day Michael killed the priest, the day Constance gave up on Michael and took her own life. Jessica Lange returns once more for another incredible performance, despite the quality of the episode that surrounds it.
My grandson is a child. And I see his eyes in your eyes, and I hear the remnant of his sweet voice in your throat. But you are not him. Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! Don't you ever come back.
Before he goes, Michael chokes Constance to near death.
But you won't, will you? Because you're a coward.
So Michael struts out the house in slow motion, and talk about unceremonious, Mallory runs him over with a sedan. Then again, and again, before driving away. Constance holds Michael as he dies and begs to be taken to the murder house, which honestly feels way too close to Constance's house geographically, but it's always unclear in Murder House. And she tells him,
"Go to hell."
Constance leaves him in the street, surviving this season thanks to time travel, in Mallory killing Michael, and Michael dies as the camera recreates the shot that followed Adelaide Langdon's death after being hit by a car on that same street. And thus ends Michael Langdon, which means that the entire timeline after this event in 2015 has been erased. No apocalypse, no outposts, and wait a damn minute, that also means Moira is back, trapped inside the murder house. God damn it. The season ends with an epilogue, with Mallory taking herself to Robichaux's and introducing herself to Cordelia, who has no memory of her. Or does she?
Have we met? I guess I just have one of those faces.
Zoe's alive again, and Mallory stopped Queenie from going to the Hotel Cortez for her Los Angeles trip, so that's good, I guess.
I just got my tickets for the Price is Right because it's Plinko all day ho.
You don't want to stay downtown.
Who's this? I guess I'll stay in Venice. Be better.
Myrtle, though, wouldn't be brought back, and Madison is still in hell. Mallory intends on bringing Madison back, but says,
We'll have to go to hell and bring her back. But she can sweat it out a little longer.
Hasn't she suffered enough? Jesus. Out of nowhere, Nan suddenly enters from the underworld with Misty Day.
Because I killed the spawn of Satan, I got blazing street cred with the demons of the underworld.
Literally, just ask for Madison right now then. She doesn't deserve to be in hell.
Everything is as it should be.
Nan says Papa Legba is her boo, so she scurries off back to hell to have more fun. Mallory's narration warns that the devil will never give up, and she worries what consequences will come now that she's changed the past. We then flash forward to the year of 2020, when none other than Timothy and Emily coincidentally cross paths at a protest. The two have chemistry even without the threat of nuclear war, and 1 year later, we see they've taken things pretty quick as Emily gives birth to a son who they name Devin. Then in 2024, Devin is now 3, and they've settled down in a house.
You seem so angry.
The dusk is red with evil, and a circle of crows spawn. And in a parallel to the conclusion of Season 1 that set up Michael Langdon, Timothy and Emily discover Devin has murdered the babysitter. Just then, Timothy answers a knock at the door.
Hello, I am Anton LaVey.
We've been waiting our whole lives for this. We're here to help.
The episode concludes Cordelia's miniature arc in this season, where when she is faced with an early end to her supremacy amid visions of the end of times, she strongly opposes Michael Langdon whilst training Mallory, who she believes is her rightful successor. The finale finds our witches at a time when they are out of options and out of time, and once Mallory is too injured to perform Tempus Infinitum, Cordelia chooses to perform the sacred taking of her own life in order to make sure Mallory could get the job done. She has a couple conversations in the season prior to this where she says she fears she is turning into her mother Fiona, who famously clung to her supremacy by killing anyone who threatened it. In Cordelia's final act of sacrifice and desperation, her actions prove that she is nothing like her mother, as she is choosing to end her reign only 5 years in, whereas Fiona clung to hers for 4 decades. Sure, the alternative for Cordelia is annihilation, and she did wait until after 7 billion lives were lost to do this, but let's not think too much about it. Next, let's talk about the other returning witch who was given some sort of arc in this season, Madison Montgomery. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say Zoe, Myrtle, or Queenie had any arc at all in the season, which was a major missed opportunity, but nonetheless, after finishing Coven being violently murdered by Kyle, we find out that her sisters knew she had died and they did not give a rat's ass. Yes, Madison was a mean girl. Yes, she killed people. But Coven did take the effort to show us her humanity, but still it seems that no one around Madison got to see her humanity even when it was right on display for them. But to be fair, the last time most of these people saw her, she was refusing to resurrect Zoe. But as I said in that deep dive, that entire scene was really stupid and bad writing. And who really cares, because everybody else in that room could have resurrected her, and they did. So it's not like Madison caused Zoe to die forever, whereas they fully let Madison suffer in hell for as long as they wanted. While Kyle is conveniently and confusingly absent from the season, Madison returns to life for the second time, intent on doing right by her coven. And while she still can blurt a nasty one-liner like nobody's business, Madison is portrayed as a well-meaning protagonist throughout this season. Yet still, by the end of it, in this episode, Mallory says she's completely fine on leaving Madison in hell, at least for a little bit. Speaking of Mallory, looking back, she's someone who really should have had a character arc in the season. She's the main opponent of the season's main antagonist, but the entire season she's pretty much the same. We know Coco was given a different personality for her identity spell, but not Mallory, so the only thing that changes once it is lifted is her knowledge of her own powers. The rest of the season is just her flashbacks of her learning how to harness her abilities, but most of that happens off screen, and the only time we ever really see her struggle is when she's trying to rescue the Romanovs. Unlike Michael, Mallory gets no backstory. We just know that her bloodline traces back to Salem. Cool. Then there's Michael Langdon. He's the 8-year-old Antichrist who is extremely powerful until the audience discovers all of his plans were given to him, and his intimidating demeanor is a facade. Except for, his very real ability to kill people and make them cease to exist. He really underutilizes that power, but I've said it a million times now that I just do not like what they did with this character after episode 6, and I particularly dislike the time travel element and how it concludes with Mallory running Michael over with a car rather than, using magic. These are two magical beings that the whole season has hyped up a face-off between. And it all leads to a mid-sized sedan running him over. And then he's literally not even dead the last time we see him on screen. Like, he's still breathing and his eyes are still open. I would even say the Warlock fight between Behold and John in episode 5 was better than any of the few face-offs in this finale, and that is incredibly disappointing. That said, the scene between Cody Fern and Jessica Lange directly before he is run over by the mid-sized sedan is top-notch, one of the most well-performed scenes in the entire season thanks to Lange's intense mastery of her range in emotions, which makes the whiplash of the car crash scene hit even harder. On top of that, the finale repeats the sins of episode 3 by committing a large quantity of unceremonious character deaths, only this time it's so much worse because they're iconic AHS characters like Madison Montgomery and Marie Laveau. Speaking of Marie Laveau, while it was great to see her return for a couple seconds in this finale, to have her, of all people, die so unceremoniously after not putting up a fight against Michael Langdon is truly beyond disappointing and a waste of bringing back that character. Then of course, with the time travel occurring and Mallory killing Michael, that means the entire season we just saw occurred in an alternate timeline that only we and Mallory know about, I guess, and is not technically canon to the AHS timeline and shared universe or whatever. So Michael Langdon never reached the height of his power and influence, and the nuclear war of 2020 never happened in the AHS universe. That also means Marie Laveau is still in hell, as is Madison, and thank God that means Violet still hates Tate. God damn it, that means Moira is still trapped in the murder house with Constance. I could sit here and list the ways this fucks with my brain to this day, but at the end of the day, I think introducing alternate timelines and time travel in a show that started as an anthology within a shared universe is so beyond annoying. And for me, it is an instance of the show jumping the shark. And as an appreciator of shared universes and crossovers of sorts, doing the time travel has a really negative effect on the shared universe when looking at the seasons that came before it and after it. Just what a mess. Why did you do this? When this season premiered in 2018, I was freshly 19 and had spent a good deal of my teen years obsessing over AHS. So it definitely hit a lot different back then than it does revisiting it now at age 26, where I can see its many flaws amongst definitely still a lot of nostalgia. But like every AHS season, there are a ton of good elements and always strong performances. Sarah Paulson plays both a primary antagonist and a primary protagonist as Venable and Cordelia, and she is on fire in both roles. For me, the best parts of Apocalypse are these two characters, and Paulson even spends an episode as Billie Dean Howard in the episode she directed herself, and the way she has become so many classic horror characters across this franchise is extremely impressive and definitely celebrated in this season. Between season 7 and 8, Sarah Paulson fans were getting feasts of performances on AHS. While I didn't love the writing choices made with Michael Langdon, Cody Fern plays him incredibly throughout the season, especially in those Outpost 3 episodes. Other one-dimensional characters that were elevated by strong performers in this season include the ones played by Joan Collins, John Briones, Cheyenne Jackson, and Adina Porter. There's not a bad berry in the bunch when it comes to this cast, and it's their commitment that lets the season work when it does. The costuming and hair and makeup in the season is also among the best the series has ever done. I love the Outpost 3 outfits. They are so unique in terms of the usual look the series usually goes for, and the witches seem to have some ins with the best fashion houses. Lou Eyrich and Paula Bradley, the costume designers for this season, spoke about how the witches' new roles in their personal lives and in the public eye after Cordelia's announcement influenced their heightened fashion in the season. Zoe's grown up. As Eyrich puts it, she's now less Urban Outfitters and more Margiela. And Myrtle Snow is still a vision every time she graces our screen, even if her character is given next to nothing to do this season. I also really enjoy the score this season. There are several reused motifs and themes that work really well to set the intense tone of the season. Speaking of Myrtle, while I love her to death, to me, she is a case of cheap fan service in this season, as they fail to give Cordelia strong enough reasoning to resurrect her former mentor after she emotionally let her turn herself in at the end of Coven. And once she's done that, Myrtle is only there to serve looks, one-liners, and the occasional theremin session. Don't get me wrong, not bringing Myrtle back in some way would have been criminal, but we didn't have to do it this lazily. They wait until the second half of the season to tell us how Myrtle is even back in the first place, and it's in that half of the season that has so many other moments of cheap fan service. Nan, Marie Laveau, and even Misty Day all memorably appear, but their screen time is fleeting, as if the budget increases each time they're on screen. Each do get great moments, but that's all they are, just moments. And with a blink of an eye, they're gone. Speaking of budgets, it seems that most of the budget for set construction and set design went into building sets for the dual location of Outpost 3, aka the Hawthorne School, which admittedly I do think is a very impressive location, even if it's more understated compared to the primary locations of seasons past. It works really well with the candlelight and the costumes, and it is a unique take on a apocalypse bunker to me. However, having such a big bunker set left not much to recreate the similarly massive, iconic interiors of Robichaux's Academy, which becomes a primary location for the middle section of the season. There is no continuity between Coven and Apocalypse when it comes to Robichaux's interiors. Everything feels extremely scaled down, and the iconic portrait room and grand staircase are completely missing. Luckily, filming in Los Angeles meant they could feasibly film inside the Rosenheim mansion for the Murder House episode, which does work a lot better than revisiting Robichaux's or the Hotel Cortez. That said, I don't know why the showrunners took the teen fans' obsession with Tate and Violet as a sign to undo both of their character work by reuniting them and also having Vivian, more or less, forgive Tate. It's absurd, but because of the time travel, it didn't actually happen, so fuck, whatever. The season ends with the reveal that Satan has a backup plan, and the two young adults with perfect DNA end up producing Antichrist 2.0. Is this the setup for the now confirmed crossover season that's happening in season 13? Maybe so. Does it make even that last choice of killing Michael and thus the whole season of Apocalypse seem pointless? A bit. However, if the upcoming season does handle the repercussions of Apocalypse, one thing I would be kind of interested in is hearing more about Mallory's fears of the consequences of her drastically changing the timeline of the past and the future. At the end of the day, I love moments and elements of this season. Outpost 3 and Venable, Michael Langdon when he was menacing and mysterious, seeing Zoe briefly in a mentorship role, and other familiar faces and surprises. But this season was too ambitious to stick the landing, and it gets really unbearable in episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10. And in hindsight, I would consider the season one of the biggest disappointments of the franchise, probably second only to the disappointment of Double Feature. And frankly, the two have a lot of problems in common, but I've rambled enough, so let me step back. Thank you so much for watching. These past several deep dives have been quite the journey. Thank you to everyone who has kept up along the way. Thank you to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video, and an extra special thank you to my patrons. You rock. Let me know your thoughts on Apocalypse in the comments below, and I will see you next time.
Hi, bitches.
Spicy gazpacho andaluz.